Pyron has lived his entire life in this damn underground bunker. His every day begins with brutal training. He does hundreds of push-ups with incredible weight on his back. And when he finally collapses from exhaustion, his father shows no mercy. He beats him for being too weak. In fact, his father beats him for any reason and for no reason at all. And so it goes day after day. That's why Pin has only one dream, to leave this bunker and see the outside world. The only thing he has is an old family photo which gives him the confidence that his mother loves him. But his father, who locked him in this bunker, doesn't think so. He constantly repeats that she is dead. But our MC refuses to believe him because he's such a bastard. He locked Pyron here and repeats every day that he will never leave this place because soon there will be an apocalypse outside where everyone will meet their end. The only thing that brightens Pyron's days are books about the outside world, the world he so desperately wants to see with his own eyes, to finally find his mother and new friends. But reality is cruel and all he sees now is his father's boot, which quickly brings him back to the harsh present. To get out, Pan must get the keys to the bunker, the ones his father always carries with him. And so during one of the training sessions, he decides to take his shot. Pin's father turns back to leave, saying, "That's all for today." Our boy finds it an opportunity and grabs a piece of mirror to attack. He rushes forward and claims it's the moment he was waiting for. He'll kill his father and escape the bunker. He jumps, intending to kill, but it appears that he has made a fatal mistake. He failed to realize that his father would never let his guard down. Pyron's father creeps toward him and he leaps forward to attack, but his fist hits only air as his dad swerves away. His father kicks him hard. Blood spills from the protagonist's mouth as his vision fades to black. In D1, our boy cries out, waking up in his dark cell. His dad enters, praises his effort, and reminds him of the rule. No weapons, only bare hands. Because he broke the rule, his father says he'll have double training tomorrow. He locks the cell and tells him to sleep. When the power cuts out and everything grows quiet, Pan listens carefully. He realizes two things. When his dad says it's bedtime, it's actually morning above and the world outside is still normal. The whole apocalypse story is a lie his father uses to keep him trapped. The protagonist swears he'll escape. He looks at a family photo and decides to find his mother, even though his father insists she's dead. Now he's certain that's a lie, too. She must be alive. Our boy promises himself he'll see her again. Somewhere else, his father answers a phone call, telling the caller not to contact him unless it's a true emergency. After listening for a moment, he ends the call with a cold wish for survival. Back in the cell, Pan is asleep, tied with rope and yelling to be freed. When his dad ignores him, he struggles against the ropes, whispering to himself as he feels them start to give. Just as he's about to break loose, his father rushes in and orders him to stop. The protagonist tries to mention the double training, but his dad interrupts, saying, "Plans have changed. There will be no more training, only confinement." Our boy asks how he's supposed to prepare for the apocalypse while tied up, but his dad tells him to forget it. Thinking of his mother, Pan knows he'll never find her if he stays trapped. He fights harder, eventually snapping the ropes. His father demands to know what he's doing, but the protagonist keeps tearing at the restraints. Even as his father's laughter echoes through the room. Suddenly, his dad strikes him, sending him flying. The man warns him not to move, but our boy swings back, refusing to obey or give up, no matter the cost. When he finally breaks free, the protagonist is determined to see his father lose for once. He notices a flicker of something else beneath his dad's anger. Maybe sadness. Pian wonders why his father looks at him that way. Then his dad punches him and his vision goes black. Pan's dad stands by the chalkboard while the protagonist sits nearby, listening as the man insists that rule number 1 for survival is absolutely essential. He continually emphasizes how safe the bunker is, explaining it's been sealed for 126 years, fully stocked with food, and that leaving is basically a death sentence. Convinced the apocalypse could strike at any moment, his father believes the bunker is the only safe place left. When our boy is alone, he quietly mutters never to himself. Clearly disturbed by his father's constant warnings, he recalls the unsettling moment when he woke up after being knocked out and realized his dad was gone, something that had never happened before. Just yesterday, his father's behavior grew even stranger, disrupting their usual routine. And now, Pyron can't shake the feeling that something big is about to happen. He's certain he's right. Suddenly, the metal doors begin to rattle and clang. On edge, the protagonist looks around, whispering in confusion as the echoes fill the bunker. Almost as if they're drawing him closer. When he spots a door left wide open, he bolts for it. Realizing this is the opportunity he's been waiting for. Sprinting through empty corridors, Pyron no longer fears being stopped by his dad. He rushes past rattling gates unimpeded and skids to a stop at the ladder. Excitement surges as our boy climbs quickly, his hands clanging against the rungs, nearly praying for sunlight. He pushes at the hatch, and when it finally opens, a wave of light forces him to squeeze his eyes shut. The protagonist steps outside slowly, feet touching the ground above, and is shocked to see the sun for the first time. As someone approaches, he whispers in disbelief that he's actually made it out. A man shouts, asking why he's in the road. And Pan, shocked, blurts out that it's a real person. Panic sets in. This isn't the time to get caught. If his dad discovers he's gone, he'll come after him. Determined, our boy runs, desperate to get as far from the bunker as possible. Barefoot, he races through the city, exhilarated by the freedom he's only dreamed of. The memory of being trapped in the bunker drives him to move even faster. He wonders how the doors open so easily. Was it a glitch? No, his father is too careful for that. The thought that maybe his dad let him out on purpose crosses his mind, but he can't believe it. His father would never break his own rule, never leave the bunker. Laughter nearby catches his attention. He sees strangers gathered, children playing, and people talking as if nothing is wrong. It dawns on him that the outside world is peaceful, entirely unlike his father's warnings. Everything his dad said now feels like a lie. Here, people just live their lives. Looking up at the sky, the protagonist convinces himself the apocalypse can't be real. Just then, laughter turns to unease as his father's warning returns. The apocalypse will come without warning. People begin to look upward, unaware of what's coming. A massive dark sphere appears behind the sun, resembling a burning planet. The crowd stares, confused as Pan's eyes widen. The object engulfs the sky. Dark swirls ripple across its surface with sinister tendrils unfurling almost as if it's alive and growing. The sphere rumbles, panic erupts, and people start pointing as it descends. Some assume it's the moon, others shout questions. But our boy alone sees its true nature. He can see the creatures. Suddenly, golden light bursts forth, revealing a grotesque maw filled with jagged teeth. The protagonist stands frozen as monsters emerge from the darkness. Masses of limbs and angry eyes descending toward Earth. The swarm spirals tearing across the sky. Now the vortex looms over the city, and all he can hear is his father's voice. Never leave the bunker. That rule was meant to keep them safe unless the monsters find the bunker by accident. As tendrils break through the streets, his dad's warning echoes and Pan remembers the chalkboard. Rule 1 is crossed out. The system flashes. Remote command. All locks open. Monsters roar and flood the streets as people freeze in terror. The swarm blocks out the sun with creatures piling atop one another. On the ground, chaos erupts as the crowd flees in panic. Suddenly, silence breaks. Tendrils lash out, grabbing a man whose screams echo as he's dragged away, his glasses shattering and his body torn apart. His head rolls across the pavement as people panic, shoving and screaming. Amid the chaos, someone desperately asks what the thing is while another yells for everyone to run. People trample each other trying to escape. In the middle of it all, a man wearing headphones walks forward, seemingly oblivious to the chaos. The boy with headphones pauses, noticing movement above just as a monstrous mass crashes down, shaking the street. A hulking beast, crackling with energy, rises, each step sending shock waves. Another winged creature lands with a thunderous boom, spinning as more monsters close in, crushing anyone who falls. People scream for help. Someone begs for the police, but another shouts that the phones are already out. Panic is everywhere as the protagonist stands amid the destruction. His father's grim warning echoing. When the apocalypse comes, the world drowns in blood. Screams and ashes. Bodies are strewn across the ruined plaza as our boy stares in shock. A giant dark vortex looming over the city. A timestamp flashes D1. People scream as the devastation continues. D1 becomes D0. The apocalypse isn't approaching. It's already here. The ground splits open. Buildings collapse and monsters flood the streets. The final words make it clear the apocalypse was already underway. A spiral of monsters towers over the city as Pan lands on the road. He realizes his dad was right about the apocalypse. It's real. Lifting his head, the protagonist understands that if the warning was true, then losing his mom must be true as well. He clenches his teeth, accepting that she's gone. Explosions erupt, footsteps thunder, and crowds scatter in panic. The swarm of monsters charges down the streets, roaring and sending people fleeing. As the creatures approach, someone grabs Pan's arm and pulls him away. His dad drags him through the chaos while monsters tear through the crowd. The man shouts not to stop as survivors dash for safety. One man is pulled down and devoured, but our boy keeps running, rounding a corner with the horde close behind. His father warns of more monsters ahead, pulls him along, and they leap over a barrier. The street is packed with people trying to escape. Cries for help fill the air as tendrils drag people into monsters' mouths. They try to move faster, but the tendrils close in, consuming more. As the swarm advances, they reach a bridge where people trip and scream with monsters crashing behind. The creatures tear through everything, seizing one man and dragging him away while Pan shouts they're about to be caught. His father yells that there's no time. They must run. The bridge is the only escape. The crowd surges forward as monsters flood onto the bridge. The protagonist shouts a warning, but his dad doesn't answer. A monster lunges, wrapping its limbs around our boy's leg. He struggles as the tendrils tighten, but his father smashes them off with a stone. The creature screeches and retreats, but Pyron is now injured, clutching his leg as the horde draws nearer. He pushes himself forward, stumbling, determined to escape, squeezing between abandoned cars. The protagonist feels the monsters gaining ground. He falls, sliding across the pavement, muttering under his breath. He urges his dad to go ahead, admitting he can't run any farther. Looking up, he tells his father to escape. Memories flood back, being trapped, shouting about being ignored. He drops his head, but his father approaches, insisting he must get up. Our boy protests, asking why he should keep running, convinced there's no way out. His dad insists he knows Pan can make it. Shaking his head, the protagonist hesitates, but his father grabs his hand and pulls him to his feet. He tells him to run. Pin protests, wanting to know the plan, but his dad presses something into his hand and urges him to go. There's no time. He has to leave the bridge. The boy nods and limps away, weaving through the cars. Looking back, he sees the bridge shuddering, cables snapping, and the whole structure collapsing into the chasm, swallowed by dust and debris. He stops at the edge, whispering and calling out for his father. The protagonist stands there, staring at the wrecked city, unable to find the words to process what just happened. Looking down at his pendant, a memory surfaces. His dad once told him he could survive, that he knew how. Now Pan wonders if this was all part of the plan from the beginning. He quietly asks himself why, questioning the timing and realizing he's actually made it this far. Uncertain about what to do next, our boy remembers dreaming of sunlight and freedom while trapped in the bunker. But now, as light flares in his hand, he feels emptier than ever. A memory of his mother's face flashes through his mind as he whispers why again, desperate for answers from his dad about why things had to go this far. He asks what his next move should be, shouting at the chaos around him. Suddenly, he recalls being handed something, a piece of paper. Clutching it tightly, Pyron stares at the ground just as it begins to shake and a massive monster lands nearby. He bolts as the creature roars, but it's right behind him. His leg hits some debris and he nearly falls, but the protagonist grabs a broken pole and jumps. The creature slams down, sending both of them sprawling. Struggling to stand, our boy grips his injured leg and faces the beast, muttering that this is the end and thinking there's nothing left for him. A drop of water lands on his skin. He notices the crumpled note in his fist. "Your mom is alive," he screams, demanding to know why he's only learning this now. As the monster's footsteps shake the earth, PN forces himself to get up, determined to live and not give up. Shouting that he's going to find his mother, he squares off against the monster. Suddenly, his dad's voice echoes in his mind, reminding him that humans can't survive the apocalypse without strength or intelligence. Luck alone isn't enough. The protagonist questions how he's supposed to survive now. As the ground shakes harder and the beast charges, he yells, but his father's voice interrupts, asking if he's forgotten everything he was taught. As the monster attacks, our boy dodges and ends up at its side. Spotting a weapon ahead, he grabs its arm and pulls himself up. He pivots, glaring at the charging creature, preparing to strike. Sliding under its claws, Pan snatches the weapon and dashes forward, swinging with determination, telling himself he's going to survive. The city lies in ruins. Monsters roam freely. One descends a tower while another moves through the rubble. Streets and buildings are broken and eerily quiet. When night falls, survivors shelter in the debris. One man wipes his face and grumbles that it's been 4 days. Another, frustrated, complains about the missing police and wonders what they're doing. A girl remarks that their hideout is fortunate, but admits the food is gone. No one knows where to go next. Before she can continue, a man interrupts, asking her to stop because she's making everyone uncomfortable. Confused, the girl insists she isn't speaking loudly. The protagonist glances at the body behind her and clarifies that's not what he meant. Muttering about losing his mind, he's approached by a young girl who asks if he's checked everywhere. He replies that he has, but there's nothing left and they'll need something if they want to survive. She recalls a place they haven't tried and decides to check it herself. As she heads out, our boy thanks her, admitting she's the only one who helps. She dismisses the compliment and disappears into the rubble. She finds 2 men and asks if they've seen any food. Instead, they begin eating from a hidden stash. She reminds them they were supposed to share, but one shrugs, claiming there was never an agreement. She points out they ate from the shared supply yesterday, but they feign ignorance. When she threatens to report them, they block her path and warn her not to try. She stands her ground. The bald man laughs, saying she can't escape, but reluctantly steps aside. Suddenly, a scream echoes nearby. Both men freeze. One asks if it was someone screaming, while the other, trying to stay calm, says it sounded distant and insists they'll be fine. Then, he notices something ahead. The girl crouches and the bald man mocks her for pretending to be tough. After a moment, she turns and makes her way back through the rubble. The same man from earlier spots her and relieved asks if she searched the area. She nods. When he asks if she found anything, she hides a piece of bread under her jacket and claims there was nothing. He believes her. Suddenly, a loud crash sends dust flying and a one-eyed monster appears. Surrounded by debris, the man freezes as the monster approaches. In a panic, he reaches for help, but the girl sprints past him, apologizing as his screams are drowned out by the creature. Out on the street, panic spreads as the monster arrives. Someone yells not to look back. Another curses as more creatures emerge, and a red-haired man suggests they'll get away once someone else is caught. The little girl runs straight at the monster, dodging its attacks without hesitation. She twists, rolls across its arms, and lands as dust swirls around her, leaving two nearby men stunned. Without missing a beat, she flips upright and keeps running. The bald man watches her go, realizing she's faster than anyone. All around, chaos erupts as people scream and flee. She navigates the ruined streets, climbs to higher ground, and pauses to catch her breath. Looking back, she sees Pawn sitting with his eyes closed. She nudges him, discovering he's alive, but unconscious. Suddenly, a creature creeps up, hissing. She presses against the wall, trying to hide as it draws near, growling. The little girl grabs the protagonist to help him up. The monster looms over them, and now it's just the two of them facing the threat. The rubble settles and a little girl tries to catch her breath. She turns around to find Pin lying on her lap. He starts shaking, anxious to know who she is and what she's doing. She stammers while the protagonist silently vows never to drop his guard again. She tries to explain that she only covered him to keep the monsters from seeing him, but her words are drowned out by his father's warnings about people who only use others and toss them aside. Our boy reminds himself not to trust anyone, even as his stomach growls since he hasn't eaten since leaving the bunker. Weak and barely able to stand, he asks about food. She claims she doesn't have any, but a piece of bread slips out of her pocket, catching his attention. She tries to dismiss it, but Pyron calls her a liar and considers taking it. In the end, she tears the bread in half and gives him a piece. He hesitates, unsure why she would share, and she tells him he now owes her 5 times as much food in return. He agrees. After eating, the protagonist gets up to leave, but she chases after him, warning that monsters are still nearby. He stops when he realizes she knows the area well and she admits she's lived there her whole life. Our boy studies her, weighing whether to trust her, but she insists she knows the place. He asks if she can lead him to the subway station. She agrees to show him, but regrets giving up her bread. Curious, she asks why he's so determined to reach the subway. Pan explains it's safe, there's food, possible escape routes, and most importantly, it's underground, making it harder for monsters to find people. Soon, she stops and tells him they've arrived. He's doubtful, but she assures him it's the entrance. An older man appears, confirming it's the right place and inviting them to follow him. He leads them down hidden stairs into the subway, which is crowded with survivors. The old man recalls the monster's earlier attack, forcing everyone to take refuge, and notes how the protagonist found the place by chance. He explains that people only go above ground for medicine, and these two are the first newcomers in a while. Pon surveys the crowd, worried that more people might mean more trouble, but he senses that everyone here seems trustworthy. He finally relaxes. The old man introduces himself as Baum Huang, a doctor, and explains he met them while searching for medicine. He asks for their names and the girl steps forward, introducing herself as Haru, a student at Gaozang Middle School. Bom recognizes her uniform and mentions his hospital was across the street, but Haru looks puzzled and insists there was never a hospital there. Noticing our boy's rough state, Bom asks for his name. The protagonist hesitates, thinking of his journal, and admits he doesn't have one. Bom nods, telling him to share it when he's ready. Suddenly, a red-haired kid rushes in, reporting that someone's condition has worsened, and Bom hurries over. Although he'd already tried to treat the wound, it has deteriorated and now requires emergency surgery. Bom prepares his tools while Pyron recalls stories about dishonest doctors who only help for payment and wonders what Bom's motives are. As others question if money even matters anymore, Bom remains composed, insisting that surgery is his job and that he never loses a patient. He begins the operation, reassuring everyone that things will be fine. When the procedure ends, the patient hugs Bom in gratitude. Yet, our boy continues to watch, unsure whether to trust him as Bom tells the patient to rest. A badge falls out, revealing that Baum Huang is actually a veterinarian. He readies his tools and warns that the next part will be painful. When the patient panics and begs to be untied, Bom refuses, explaining that any movement could be fatal. The patient protests about Baum's veterinary background, but Baum insists that humans are animals, too, so the treatment applies. The patient keeps struggling and Bom suggests anesthesia, but the red-haired girl explains it's impossible to find right now. Bom pulls out a brick, mutters that it will have to suffice, and knocks the patient out while Haru and the protagonist stand in silence. Pin holds a photo from his dad and a note suggesting his mom might still be alive. Though he feels hopeless about finding her, the picture catches his attention. The flowers in the background are unfamiliar. He has never seen anything like them. After studying them, the protagonist suspects these flowers might only grow in certain places. If that's the case, the photo could be a clue to his mother's location. He decides he needs the help of someone who knows about plants. Meanwhile, a group gathers in a bunker. A subordinate announces everyone has arrived, and the captain declares that something new is about to begin. He warns that any resistance will be crushed if necessary. When a man demands answers, the captain simply glares at him. He claims he can see into people their secrets and fears just by looking into their eyes. Noticing fear in the angry man, the captain singles him out. The man pleads for space, but the captain punches him, saying that fear always surfaces around him. The captain says this is what he likes to see and demands more. He orders the man to show his real self, but the man begs him to stop. A subordinate interrupts to report that an old man, a girl, a boy, and an injured man are missing. The captain decides to deal with it himself, then orders the angry man to be tied up and left outside, ignoring his protests. Exhausted from days of vigilance against monsters, our boy dreams of being dragged deeper and wakes abruptly to find strangers surrounding him, demanding to know who he is. A blonde-haired man gives him 2 minutes to prove himself or be forced out, mocking him and saying that running won't help. As Pan stands, the captain reconsiders his earlier judgment about the protagonist's curiosity. The blonde man asks how he plans to fight them off, but he turns the question back on him. The captain grins, urging our boy to reveal what's behind his eyes. The blonde man tells him he should have run, but Pan says he only needs 2 seconds to take him down. The blonde man then pulls a blade as the protagonist looks for his missing photo. The man taunts him with the picture, saying he found nothing else of value. Our boy threatens to kill him if the photo is damaged. The captain seizes it and threatens to tear it up while Pyron is beaten and questioned about why a piece of paper matters so much. The captain announces the protagonist isn't being expelled. He saw something different in his eyes, a deeper darkness. So he instructs the man to watch over him and to never let the picture out of sight. The man admits Pyron unsettles him, but holding the photo seems to keep our boy powerless. Haru checks if the protagonist is okay, but he lashes out, pushing her away. She asks why he's taking it out on her, saying she only wanted to help. He insists he doesn't need help and tells her to back off. She shouts her name, Haru, telling him to remember it, but he dismisses her. Bom asks Haru what's wrong. She says Pan is impossible, and Bom agrees something is off. Our boy remembers his dad's warning to never trust help. Watching the man with his photo, he considers snatching it back, but decides against risking the only thing he has left from the bunker. He waits for a better chance. The captain gathers everyone and gives them 2 options. Follow him or be thrown out, using the tied-up man as an example of what happens to those who refuse. He explains the captive tried to cause trouble and is being expelled, warning that his word is law. For most, siding with him seems like the only way to survive. Bom, however, says he's too old to comply. If he follows the captain, he'll let his patience down, so he chooses to remain independent. The captain pressures Haru to decide, but she points out she isn't the only one. Refusing. Pyron, Haru, Bam, and a few others stand together, openly defying the captain. A red-haired girl jolts awake, grumpy, and shouting about why no one bothered to wake her up. She curses, insisting she never wanted to be here anyway. As panic sets in, she claims everyone is doomed, targeted, and about to be tortured. Meanwhile, a calmer person shrugs off her worries, unconvinced things will get that bad. The red-haired girl glances over uncertainly, wondering if that could be true. The calm one just grins and jokes that maybe they'll starve or be thrown to monsters instead. Her face goes pale. She thinks he's lost it, but sudden loud noises outside interrupt the tension. A girl rushes out, only to be scolded by a man who apologizes to Bom for not keeping an eye on things. Bam drops to one knee and tells the girl to listen to her dad, but she mutters under her breath before stomping off, yelling that he's not her father. She insists her real dad is still out there searching for her with her mom. The man clarifies that he isn't her father, just someone she met while running away. He explains that after she got separated from her parents, he decided to look after her until they could reunite. When another boy steps in, a man lays down the rules. No one is allowed out of the room by order of the captain, and anyone who disobeys will be punished, regardless of who they are. Someone else adds that being a kid won't get him any leniency. Meanwhile, the boy looks around trying to spot the man who took the photo. Elsewhere, it's mealtime. Guards hand out food, stating it's strictly 1 meal per person. The red-haired girl protests, complaining that their portions are much smaller than everyone else's. The guard repeats that it's the captain's order and insists they don't need much since they're stuck inside. The girl's hands shake with anger, and someone nearby tenses, sensing trouble. Simeon mentions he hasn't seen chicken comb. Whispers spread. Everyone knows Chicken Comb as the captain's right-hand man, notorious for breaking rules, wandering where he pleases, and frightening people with his strength. He's the type who smiles while beating someone up. Chicken Comb strolls by just as the little girl trips and spills her food on his vest. He gives her a dark grin, warns that annoying him leads to regret, and tells her to come with him. People whisper, convinced he's capable of hurting a child without hesitation. The girl trembles as he growls that running around is dangerous, and orders her to follow, but it's clear he's heading for the group. Someone calls out in surprise. Chicken Comb turns to the guard and asks for a favor. Give the girl another meal. The guard hesitates, reminding him about the one-meal rule, but Chicken Comb towers over him and demands the guard's own meal. He hands it to the girl. The guard is confused, suspecting Chicken Comb has something cruel in mind, perhaps planning to force-feed her as punishment. Suddenly, the man looking after the girl bursts in, grabs her hand, and demands everyone back off. He insists on knowing what's happening. Chicken Comb seems puzzled, asking what he did wrong, but the man just calls them all thugs and leaves with the girl. Chicken Comb pauses, then grins as they walk away. Two girls notice there are more guards around now, and the boy mutters under his breath, debating whether to confront the blonde man himself. The blonde girl turns away in silence. Later, the girls sit quietly together. One shifts, noticing the boy alone in the dark. She approaches, but he grabs her wrist, eyes fierce, and accuses her of trying to set him up. She protests, saying she only wanted to talk. He repeats her words, suspicious, and asks if he just hates talking. She wants to know why he cares. He tells her to get to the point. She asks why he always sits alone, wondering if he's just shy. He snaps that all humans are his enemies, so there's no point in getting close to anyone. She insists she meant no harm, but he remains unconvinced. She sighs, telling him to think what he wants, but urges him to make up with Haru. He says he and Haru never fought and labels her just like everyone else, still human. The girl explains that Haru cries herself to sleep every night and seems burdened by something. She thinks a friend her age might help, but the boy dismisses it as pathetic. He argues that sadness is weakness and survival should be the priority. She hesitates, then asks if he's ever lost someone he loved. He says no, claiming it will never happen. He has no one to lose and nothing to be sad about. She suggests that sounds lonely, but he insists he's fine. She tells him that if he ever dies, she will feel sad for him. He rolls his eyes, calling it ridiculous, and promises he won't be sad if she dies. She laughs, coughs, apologizes for talking too long, wishes him good night, and leaves. Nearby, the red-haired girl wakes up again, groaning about never being able to get any sleep. Parent heads into this underground shelter, and there's this blonde guy who steals his picture. It's basically the only thing that could help him find his mom. Suddenly, gunshots ring out, and the thief starts messing with our boy, saying it's punishment for trying to escape. But Pyron just stares back, totally unafraid, telling him to drop the photo and just fight instead. The blonde one starts shaking, realizing the only thing our protagonist cares about is that picture, not even his own safety. He rants about how Pyron probably needs another beating, clutching the photo like it's gold. Our boy thinks about his dad's old line that people are all born bad, but he also remembers little moments of kindness he's seen. Then the girl from earlier rushes in, looking shocked, while Bomb checks him over, insisting he has to clean up his wounds. Pan's not into getting patched up, but he takes some food that she saved for him. Just as he's about to thank her, she starts coughing really hard. Bum says she needs medicine, but they're all out. He warns things will get even worse without it, but she stubbornly refuses to let anyone risk themselves for her, even as the coughs rack her. Our protagonist gets anxious and asks what happens if there's no medicine. Bai doesn't answer right away, but before he can, thugs show up. Meanwhile, the one with the photo is grumbling about the captain wanting him to show it off, wishing he could just kill Pyron and be done with it. Then Bum gets ordered to help some outsiders right away. He refuses, saying he's got someone critical to take care of, and the thug starts questioning whose side he's on. The girl, weak as she is, says she'll go upstairs for medicine herself, but Bon won't let her, warning she wouldn't make it. He steps up and says he'll go with her, but then the thug just stabs her, making some twisted joke about how easy it could have been to help. Everyone's in shock as she crumples. Blood spreading across the floor. Pyron feels her life slipping away and then some weird energy starts glowing from her wound, knocking him back. He can't help thinking how fragile people are as he sees that glow pulsing and her life fading. Her hands shake as she reaches for him and she manages to whisper, reminding him of the time he said he wouldn't care if she died. Then her hand just drops completely still. The thug wipes his knife clean while BOM yells at him, calling him a monster for killing without blinking. The killer just shrugs it off, claiming he saved Bayon by keeping him from being forced above ground. He adds that they can't lose a doctor just because of one dying woman. Pyron just stands there as the thug taunts him, asking if he's scared now. Our boy stays quiet, but looks up. The thug waves his bloody knife, and that's when he notices he doesn't have the photo anymore. Pan spots it on the ground, must have dropped it when he pulled his blade. Dropping to his knees, the kid stares at the picture while the thug keeps poking at him, wanting to know what it means. Pan steps closer and the thug smirks, asking if he's finally going to fight. Then out of nowhere, our protagonist lunges and hits him straight on, catching the soldier completely off guard. The thug tries to act tough, asking if Pyron is going to beat him up. Before he can even react, he's hit with a sudden punch, and the knife flies across the room. Our boy moves quickly, dashing forward and knocking him to the ground. The thug struggles to get up, but Pyron slams him back down, groaning and unsteady. The man is grabbed by the shirt while the blade spins through the air. With perfect timing, our protagonist catches it, spins, and throws it across the room. The knife sticks into the thug's neck, and everyone freezes. He shakes and hisses in pain while PN stands silently watching. He remembers how easily he ambushed his opponent, realizing the man couldn't even respond. Frustrated, he curses under his breath, wishing he'd just taken the photo from the start. Muttering. He admits things would have turned out differently if he'd acted sooner. His heart races, dark energy swirling around him. Lifting the blade again, he prepares to attack. When a voice interrupts, someone warns there's no going back. After killing, Bam approaches, worry written on his face. Parent hesitates, repeating the warning to himself. Angry, he questions why anyone would care about the thug. BOM says he's actually worried about him. His fist trembles as the older man asks if killing is really necessary. Silent and conflicted, Pin looks down and admits there's no need. He thinks of his father, recalling how just crippling someone is enough to inspire fear, but then hears that mocking voice, accusing him of being too weak. He laughs bitterly, accusing Pyron of being afraid to kill. Steadying himself, our protagonist decides he will never become like these people. Even if the world ends, he wants to survive without needless killing. He drops the knife and Bomb's face lights up with relief. Turning away, Pawn insists it's not because of BOM, but because he refuses to sink to that level. He admits there's no real reason to kill. Thinking of his missing mother. Whether she's alive or not, he realizes she wouldn't have wanted this. He steels himself and steps back. Sensing an opportunity, the thug charges, thinking he has a chance now that the blade is gone. Pin reacts instantly, spinning and striking with a quick series of blows, knocking him down. As he stands over the beaten man, another survivor picks up the photo. Pan sharply asks what he's doing. The man mutters that it must be important, then awkwardly wipes it off and tells him to keep it safe. More people gather around a covered body. BOM notices Haru and the little girl are missing. The babysitter recalls they went to the bathroom and says it's lucky they didn't see the chaos. One survivor points out that Pyron held back when he could have finished the fight. But our boy shrugs and says something of his was taken hostage. The man scoffs, calling it scrap paper, but Pon's glare hardens as he insists it matters. The room falls silent as he raises a question. Holding up the photo, he explains he wants to know where the flower in the picture grows. People look at it, but admit they've never seen it before. The red-haired girl asks if he knows where the photo was taken. And he says that's why he's asking. The babysitter comments it'd be easier if the internet still worked, but now all they have is that single clue. BOM asks why it matters, and Pyron bluntly says he plans to go there. Whispers ripple with worry, and BOM warns it's impossible to survive above ground with monsters around, but our protagonist is determined he'll survive and find his mom. In the shadows, the captain mutters that since orders were ignored, things will only get worse. Suddenly, a beast crashes down, sending rubble flying. The scene shifts to an empty subway entrance marked with Zone B and exit signs, standing abandoned. Someone finally cheers because there's enough heat to cook real food. One guy tells another to fan the fire, but he just shrugs, saying he's busy. Footsteps echo as the little girl bursts in, annoyed, demanding to know why no one flushes. Haru explains the toilets don't work anymore. A man arrives, impatient that they're taking so long, and says he needs to send them back. Harry watches him fidget, just wanting to survive like everyone else. By the fire, two men are cooking. One makes a sly comment about the earlier argument and sneakily drops something into the pot. The other notices and questions him, but is told to just keep stirring. He's unsure if he really saw anything. Suddenly, the pot explodes with a violent splash, startling both of them. Rocks crash down as the ceiling splits open, and a massive tree-like creature bursts through. Its huge mouth looms over the men, leaving them frozen in fear. The captain spots the blonde thug's body on the floor. He mutters to himself, thinking he was right. There are people like this everywhere. Memories rush back. Reflections of how some are just monsters in disguise and now real monsters walk among them. Behind him, strange creatures begin to swarm in. Someone yells for him to be careful, warning that the boy is stronger than they thought. The captain ignores it and gets knocked back. Pin stands his ground, eyes sharp. The leader gets up, calls everyone else weak, and locks eyes with our boy. He says he doesn't need advice from weaklings. What he wants is Pyron. He tells him to wipe off that smug look and promises to show who's in charge. Charging forward, he wonders if he'll finally see what's inside this kid. They stare at each other, tension rising, but darkness begins to close in. Within it, something moves. The captain's eyes widen as he realizes it isn't him looking into Perron, but Perron looking into him. The darkness twists, teeth snap shut, and suddenly he understands he's the one being watched. Panicked, the captain collapses, flailing and shouting. His crew rushes over, calling his name, but he's unresponsive. Our protagonist stands there, eyes glowing, while silence grips the room. The captain gulps, realizing he almost got consumed. Everyone trembles and someone whispers that he actually looks scared. Suddenly, a man screams, grabbing his face and begging for help. Blood pours down as he thrashes, shouting that he can't see. Horrified, people murmur as the man stumbles, covered in blood, insisting he was just asleep. He says his head is pounding, something spreading inside. Grabbing his skull, he stumbles down the hall, muttering about the pain while everyone watches, terrified and wondering if he's turning into a monster. He claws at his head until something bursts out. He screams as black tendrils rip free, twisting his body. His glasses crack, his head jerks around, and the survivors scream as tentacles lash out, stabbing people. The captain grabs him, pulls him away, and smashes through the creature with brute force. The monster crashes back, limbs flying. He keeps pounding, crushing it until it finally stops moving, twitching on the ground. Everyone is stunned. Someone whispers, "The captain just killed a monster." He demands to know where it came from. Survivors cheer, calling him a hero, while one man insists he always believed in him. Pyron just watches, quiet and intense. The captain sweats, glaring. Nearby, a woman grins and says she's alive. Just as a heavy metal hatch bangs open. The hatch cracks wider, drawing everyone's attention as they stare at the dark passage below. From the shadows, another grotesque creature crawls out, dragging itself across the floor and freezing everyone in fear. It rises up, towering over them with twisted limbs and glaring eyes, leaving the survivors paralyzed with terror. The hatch pops open and everyone gathers below. Life in the bunker had been calm for a while, so people almost forgot what fear felt like. But when one person quietly backs away, tension thickens, memories surge, bloody survivors, scenes no one dares recall. They all wish they could forget the monsters tearing through soldiers. But those images stay burned in. Now a grotesque beast with a single massive eye and jagged teeth claws its way up, reminding them why forgetting was never an option. The creature stomps in and panic erupts. Screams, shoving, bodies crushed in the stampede. The captain shouts at everyone to fight back, his voice slicing through the chaos, faces turn, torn between fleeing and standing their ground. Grabbing an axe, he declares this time will be different. There's only one monster, so if they stick together, they can win. Some remember he once defeated one of these things and begin to agree. There's nowhere left to run anyway. A rally builds for the first time since everything began. They gather their courage and ask what to do next. But then blood drips from the captain's nose. His expression goes vacant. The crowd shifts uneasily as someone tries to reach him. He staggers forward. Then black tendrils tear free from his mouth and chest, twisting his body before their eyes. Gasps spread. The people recall he supposedly killed the monster earlier, but a woman cries out the truth. It's regenerating. Horror sets in. These things don't die. Now overtaken by tendrils, the captain smashes through walls, destruction exploding outward. Debris rains, blood splatters. People are torn apart. A girl shrieks as a beast grabs her, crushing others mid-scream. The creature lifts victims, squeezing until blood sprays, bodies piling into a grisly mound. The hallway becomes a slaughterhouse. Someone begs for help. Another shouts, "It's the end." Convinced monsters will flood in any second. BOM seizes the babysitter who panics because the little girl is still outside. He warns that if monsters broke through the station, she's likely gone. The realization crushes him. He collapses, reaching out in despair, while another survivor turns and walks away. Through the chaos, Pan sprints down the hall, eyes blazing. Bayam Huang calls out as the others waver, some frozen, others chasing after him. Our boy pushes ahead. At the door, survivors see BOM lift a hand to halt him. Pin steps forward, gaze sharp and glowing, raises his hand and points straight ahead. Silence falls like a weight over the room. Inside, a body lies in a pool of blood near the sliding doors. While three kids huddle together in the room, one of them trembles, whispering how scared she is. Haru presses a finger to her lips, urging everyone to stay quiet and warning that any noise will get them caught. The youngest sniffles, terrified. Haru quietly apologizes, admitting she can't protect anyone right now. She explains that the chaos gave them a place to hide, but if anyone finds them, it's over. The little one grabs her sleeve, and for a moment, Haru looks surprised, but then she meets Pyron's eyes. Lets the girl hold on, and tells her softly to stay close. Nearby, an injured man stares at the dead body, terrified, asking what they should do. Haru says they need to run. He panics, insisting there's nowhere to go, but she stammers that surviving is all that matters. Gathering her resolve, Haru says they can't just sit and wait to die. She's determined to make it. Seeing that resolve, the man mutters, she must have a strong reason to live. Suddenly, everyone freezes as a monster with a glowing red eye appears in the doorway. He panics, shouting for them to run. While the blonde clings tightly as the beast advances, the man rushes forward, slamming into the creature and locking on, telling the others to escape since he has nothing left to live for, but wants them to survive. Haru seizes the little girl and runs, her shout echoing back while the man keeps fighting, urging them not to forget his sacrifice. Out of nowhere, flames erupt as more survivors rush in, stabbing and smashing another monster. The blonde stops in shock as a woman drives her knife again and again into the creature, but it starts knitting itself back together. Someone screams it's regenerating. The woman curses and retreats, convinced they can't win. While Pyron steps forward, silent, others panic, demanding to know what he's doing, warning that fighting only gets people killed. Despite them, our boy charges in. The woman realizes he actually intends to fight, thinking he must have a death wish since even the captain couldn't beat one. The monster screeches and lunges, but Pon ducks low, seizes it, and yanks hard. Bones crack. He flips forward, leaps high, and lands crouched. Everyone stares in disbelief as he tears through the monster's tendrils with his bare hands. The beast thrashes, but our protagonist stays calm, ripping it apart piece by piece. Bom and the woman watch, stunned. She mutters, it doesn't matter since even the captain killed one before, but more horrors crawl from the shadows, roaring. Still, Pyron stands firm, unfazed, locking eyes with them. As they charge, he bolts forward and smashes a giant one in the mouth with devastating force. Another lunges, but he springs up, slams down, grabs it, and rips it apart. Tendrils snap and scatter under his blows. Bom and the woman are sure he's finished, but Pyron emerges untouched, surrounded by writhing limbs. Beam mutters in awe that the boy is still alive, and the woman can't even speak. Despite the monsters regenerating again and again, everyone watches as our boy holds his ground. He takes a deep breath, his father's words echoing. Every living thing has a source that gives it life. A glowing flower flashes in his memory and his father's voice repeats. Destroy the source. Once you find it, smash it. Pin darts through the horde, eyes searching. He lunges at one, tears it open. And there it is, a glowing seed deep inside. The true source, steeling himself, he drives his weapon straight in. A burst of energy erupts. Tendrils whip violently. The monster convulses as he pushes harder. Breathing raggedly, Pin stands over the wreckage, the shattered seed glowing faintly at his feet. The survivors stand in shock, staring down the hallway. One whispers that the monster is really gone while Baum watches a blood-soaked figure move past the wreckage. Haru pulls another girl along the corridor when a loud boom rattles the bunker. She shouts that something is coming and their footsteps echo frantically as they break into a run. Racing around a corner, Haru suddenly comes face to face with a massive creature charging straight at her. She tries to leap aside but slips and crashes to the floor. The monster locks its glowing eye on her. She glances back, hearing those heavy steps pounding closer. Then, without warning, a swirling void rips open before her, pulling her vision into darkness. Shadows twist and churn as a strike slices past. From behind, Bom gasps, barely able to form words. Haru stumbles back into the group, alive, untouched. Relief floods the room, but she stands there, shaking, mumbling in shock. Then, someone yells about the missing little girl. Haru jumps, blurting out too much, and in doing so, accidentally reveals where Pyron is. The group collapses into tears. The babysitter sobbing, desperate to know if the child is safe. At that moment, a pair of tiny shoes appears in the doorway. Everyone freezes. The little girl steps forward, her dress bloodied and torn, and behind her rises a hideous creature with a glowing red eye. Panic sweeps the room. Someone charges forward, screaming, while the child trembles under the monster's shadow. Before it can strike, Chickencomb suddenly appears. He slides Pin aside, squares up to the beast, and warns it to back off or he'll go for its eyes. The creature halts, then slowly retreats as the enforcer orders it to stay put. He isn't sure if it left from fear, so he strains his ears, listening for movement. B explains they're only safe because of what's happening outside. Out there, our boy slams a monster into the ground, muttering, that's two down, but more are already closing in. Another lunges, swinging hard, and he braces. 3 more circle around. Pin thinks if there weren't so many, he could clear the area and make it safe. But now survival is all he can aim for. With nowhere to hide, he knows a single mistake could end him. And worse, more creatures might appear at any second. Exhausted, our protagonist considers breaking away to find another shelter, but the thought hits him. If he leaves, everyone inside will die. He wonders why that should matter, but then remembers the girl who was stabbed and her final words. Distracted, he drops his guard. A monster slashes across him, blood spraying as he crumples, clutching his wound. He lifts his gaze as a shadow looms over him. Chickencomb is there. The fighter tells him the others have explained everything and that he knows Pyron can kill these creatures. He asks how he can help. The babysitter snatches up his shield, ready to dive in while the little girl watches in silence. Pin mutters under his breath. Still not sure why these people insist on helping him. Chickencomb just shrugs as if it's obvious. They all want to survive. The babysitter adds that if our boy goes down, none of them stand a chance, so backing him up is the only option. He extends his hand. Pan hesitates, then nods, telling them to create a distraction. He figures betrayal isn't likely when survival is the only thing keeping them together. A monster charges and both Chickencomb and the babysitter move in to block, giving our protagonist a narrow opening despite his injuries. Chickencombers at the beast, just the distraction Pan needs. He darts forward, strikes his first target, and cracks open the monster's glowing core, which pulses with wild energy. The creature fires beams of light, forcing him to weave and duck, but he doesn't give ground. Pushing through the onslaught, he grabs hold and spins it until the core is completely exposed. He shouts he's finally found the weak spot. Lunging in, he misses. Just as the monster begins charging a devastating blast, the beam fires, but the babysitter throws up his shield, straining to hold it back. That moment is enough. Pyron regains his focus, drives his strike into the core and smashes it apart. The beast collapses. I admits he'd only slow everyone down, and the red-haired girl agrees, especially with corpses twitching around them. Someone yells at a nearby monster, shouting that the captain is dead. The babysitter glances back to check on Pyron, but he simply points to the shattered core at his feet. Chickencomb demands a lesson, so our boy explains, every monster has a weak spot. You just have to find it. Another survivor mutters that only he can actually see them, so the rest should stick to distracting. Chickencomb refuses to stand aside and hurls himself back into the fray, while Pyron admits it's far easier to fight with backup. The bruiser gets slammed hard as Pyron carves through another creature. Then he stops cold, sensing one more presence. Across the room, a survivor is ensnared, tendrils pinning her to the ground. Just as Haru and the others arrive and see her struggling, the monster crackles and twists, its form warping into something even worse. On the ground, a bloody hand twitches before falling still as the transformation completes. Nearby, a corpse jerks and a shadowy figure with mangled limbs crawls free, looming over Haru and another survivor. She pulls herself together as its jaws snap inches from her face, barely missing. The creature lunges again, only to be cut down as Parn steps in, striking it dead at the last moment. Haru stares in awe as our boy lands heavily, bleeding and exhausted, but still gripping the monster's glowing core, eyes fixed on its light. Bam rushes to him, insisting he needs treatment right away, and others scramble to help. Later, Pyron wakes bandaged. Haru's sitting close by, BOM exhaling in relief. Without hesitation, our protagonist tears off the wrappings. His wounds are gone, fully healed. BOM grabs his arm, stunned. Pan asks if the other fighter made it, and a familiar voice answers, alive. Chickencomb grins, bragging about his toughness. He shrugs, saying he helped because he wanted to, even if someone mutters he looks like one of the bad guys. The enforcer only laughs, insisting he doesn't take orders from anyone. Haru yawns as another voice comments how shady he looks, but Chickencomb just smirks, saying, appear don't matter. It's his style. Pyron turns to Haru, asking why she's still around when she isn't even hurt. She snaps back, demanding what he'll do about it, then admits she was worried. BOM interrupts, reminding Pyron that Haru stayed to help with his wounds. She yells she only did it because BOM needed her. Then Chickencomb cuts in saying he remembers her from before and surprisingly praises her speed during the fight. He describes how she dodged monsters like it was nothing, moving like the wind. Haru stiffens, clearly unsettled, and turns away as he steps closer. Pin quietly watches her walk off, remembering the stabbed woman's words that he should at least try to make peace. Our boy calls out her name. He asks if that's really it, and without turning, she softly confirms. Later, during a meeting, a man with glasses addresses the group. Only 12 survivors remain out of 43. He corrects himself, saying that's about 78% lost. He explains that many bodies were found gray and shriveled like mummies. A woman says the monsters drained them, then wonders aloud if there's some kind of government experiment. She mentions rumors while others insist they fell from the sky. Someone throws out aliens, but another silences him, reminding them bigger issues remain. All eyes shift to Perrin. They demand to know how he fights like that. How he knew how to kill the monsters. With Haru watching, our boy answers simply. He's been training and preparing for the apocalypse since the day he was born. Pyron holds up the photo, saying it's the only thing he took from the bunker. But the woman stays skeptical. She thinks he could be lying and demands more proof, doubting his story about living underground and knowing the apocalypse was coming. To her, one photo isn't enough. Still, she admits he's a skilled fighter and the others start leaning toward believing in his strength. Suddenly, a survivor lunges at him, but our boy dodges effortlessly. The attacker panics, apologizes, and quickly claims he now believes the bunker story. BOM steps in, saying he's convinced, too, especially after treating all of Pon's scars. Thinking back on everything the kid has endured, BOM points out that no one their age could have survived so much. That makes Haru curious, so she asks about the scars. Parent explains he earned them every time he tried to escape the bunker, calling them proof he never gave up. He says he doesn't see them as painful memories. Another man asks why he didn't warn people about the apocalypse. Our protagonist recalls something his dad once said, admitting he believed his father never planned to warn anyone. He confesses he doesn't exactly trust people, but adds the group has helped him, and now he's starting to question whether all humans are as bad as his father claimed. A survivor tells him he's important because he's the only one who knows how to kill the monsters. Chicken Comb suggests that finding his mom might help them understand the creatures. Another warns they've only survived thanks to luck and the blocked entrance hiding them, saying the collapsed path is their only shield. If monsters break through, they're finished. The only way out is squeezing through a single gap in the debris. Despite the warnings, they head to storage, but find it buried under rubble. Panic spreads since that was their food supply. A cold voice cuts in, saying it's no longer food storage. Bum says they need a team to search for food and asks for volunteers. Chicken Comb immediately raises his hand, saying he needs fresh air, but someone points out he's still injured. He insists he can go, but BOM refuses, saying he has to recover. Others add that going above is suicide. Even a cloaked figure agrees. Bomb looks troubled. There's only enough food for a week. Pan steps forward, calm and firm, saying he'll go. Bam is grateful, but our boy says he wanted to anyway. He hopes to find other survivors, someone who recognizes the photo, or maybe even a safer base. 2 more survivors volunteer, including a girl about his age. She admits Pyron risked his life for everyone while she would have just run away. When someone calls for Haru, she doesn't respond, clearly rattled. Pyron notices her hesitation and asks what's wrong. The room grows awkward. People instead wondering aloud if he really plans to go outside without a shirt. A woman hands him one she sewed while he slept. He asks about it and she explains she used to be a designer with lines of people waiting for her clothes back when society still existed. Pyron remembers reading about people wearing different styles and how he used to ask his father why he always gave him the same outfit. He always wanted something new. His father would laugh and say he wore the same thing too. Our protagonist admits his dream was to try new clothes above ground. He thanks her sincerely. Just then, Haru finally speaks, saying she wants to ask him something as he slides on his pants. He looks up and asks what it is. Haru stands frozen in front of Pyron while the other survivors whisper among themselves, hardly believing what they're seeing. Flustered, she suddenly yells at him, calls him a pervert, and swings. Our boy dodges, baffled, and tries to ask why she's attacking, but Haru slips mid-swing and crashes to the ground. She refuses to get up, just lying there. Pyron, still clueless, approaches until someone in the group mutters something about a scar, making her lower her head. He tells her to stand, but Haru snaps back, demanding he put on clothes first. He sighs, agrees, gets dressed, and then wonders aloud how the monsters even appeared. The survivors speculate that the fire may have drawn them in. Noticing traces of cooking, the red-haired girl excitedly snatches a lighter, but Pyron quickly warns that fire attracts monsters. She freezes, panic spreading as the group realizes what that means. Haru stares at the lighter until the girl nervously hands it over and she grips it tight, backing away. A boy suddenly recognizes Haru, calling her the track star from Gasing Middle School, saying he spotted her scar right away. He claims it looks cool, though Haru privately feels otherwise. To her, the scar is nothing but proof of fear and cowardice. Never something to admire. Her mind drifts back to classmates laughing to how she always felt weak. Flashback. Her first day at middle school, nervous, clutching her bag while her parents wish her luck and urge her to study hard. Her brother cheers. Her new classmates whisper curiously, and her parents watch with worry. Her father quietly wonders if she'll be okay, remembering how cheerful she used to be. Her mother mentions how anxious she's been since the incident, how much she struggles every day. Memory sharpens. Young Haru, cornered by a shadowy man who grabs her and raises a knife as her parents scream. She bites him, breaks free, but collapses. Trembling, she stares up as blood sprays when the blade slashes her. Her father rushes in. Her mother cries out, her vision fades. She wakes in a hospital bed, screaming, her parents clutching her, assuring her she's safe and that the man was arrested. But even as they hug her, she keeps shaking, staring at her bandaged scar, still terrified. At school, Haru sits quietly while classmates chat about scary experiences. She gazes out the window and sees shadows, hallucinations of the man. A girl asks what frightens her most. Another repeats the question. Haru hesitates, unable to answer. Later, she admits she fears dying. The room falls silent until the girl clarifies she meant horror movies. Track practice. The coach calls her up. Since the scar, she never stops feeling hunted, always sensing someone right behind her. At the signal, she runs. Each step haunted by memory, fear driving her legs. She stumbles, but pushes on. She sees herself as a coward, but then the coach calls out she's broken another record. Teammates cheer. The coach praises her, saying she could be a star. Amazed she's been breaking records after only 2 years. Reporters gather to meet the girl with the scar. Nervous, Haru greets them. They ask for a photo, encourage her. One even calls himself a fan, and puts a hand on her shoulder. She flinches. He pulls back, scoffing, calling her weird, insisting he meant no harm. The coach tries to defend her, but the man mutters, she's just jumpy, a nervous wreck. Haru says nothing. Dinner that night. Her father scrolls on his phone, earning a scolding from her mother. He laughs, apologizes, and asks about the reporter. Her brother marvels at her speed. Her father says he can't wait to see her on TV. He admits her running talent blossomed after the incident. Haru realizes each time she runs, the memories return. It's ironic. She started running to stop being a coward, but nothing really changed. She grabs her uniform and heads out. Her father reassures her that fear doesn't make her abnormal. She protests, believing her fear makes her unworthy. He hugs her, insists she doesn't need to hide, and tells her the scar is proof of bravery, that her family loves her no matter what. Haru cries, remembering how much the coward label hurt, how desperately she tried to change, not realizing what truly mattered. She recalls her family embracing her, her father's voice reminding her she isn't broken, that it's okay to be afraid. He holds out his pinky, asking her to promise not to cry, even when she's scared. Haru agrees, determined. Just as they prepare to leave together, disaster strikes. Something crashes through the building. Debris rains down. Her father looks stunned and the family rushes out into a shattered city. The massive stone giant appears just as Haru's dad collapses, struggling to rise again. He catches her gaze as she calls out to him. Stumbling, he warns her not to come closer when she rushes toward him, worried about his wound. Haru freezes, torn, eyes brimming with tears. He tells her she could still escape if she wants to. Determined, he insists he'll look after mom and Soil, but she refuses to leave. Screaming. She cries that she could never abandon him, that he means everything to her now. She swears she can't run, promising she'd never forgive herself if she did, and breaks down, eyes locked on her father's back as he shields her from the oncoming monsters. Suddenly, light bursts around him, and everything fades. Now Haru is racing through darkness, her father's words echoing, "It's okay to be scared. Nothing's wrong with you for feeling that way." Still, she refuses to accept it. She pushes herself harder, remembering his kindness, but admitting she always kept running away. Clenching her fists, she promises herself she's done running. Standing before Pan, she declares she's coming too, that she'll never run away again. Monsters prowl the rooftops as survivors edge into the city. The group sneaks past a lurking beast. It roars, but they duck behind cover and slip away. One survivor exhales in relief. Another cracks a nervous joke, and our boy assures them it's safe. Haru hears someone ask about the map. Pyron holds up a piece of paper and she watches him explain they need to make one. When she repeats his words, his tone hardens. A map is as vital as food. Haru offers to help since she knows the area but falters. Realizing the city is unrecognizable now, they gather supplies but far less than expected. Parn points out most of the food has spoiled. A bespectacled survivor suggests eating the perishables first. Haru hesitates, saying they should wait until they're back at base, but the other insists the food will rot soon and they risk their lives getting it. Better to eat now. Another argues that people are waiting back at base, but our protagonist tries a piece and says it's good. He remarks that bunker meals were just bland nutrients and this tastes incredible by comparison. Haru teases him for not even knowing what bread was before and he scowls. He hands her some food, reminding her of their earlier deal, saying now they're even. Pyron warns everyone they must stay hidden or risk being forced to fight. He can handle monsters, but noise will draw a horde. Silence is survival. Suddenly, he halts as a creature drops down between the towers above. His voice sharpens. They must not let the monsters discover them. Pyron warns everyone not to let the monsters catch on. Haru and the others freeze. He tells them that if they're discovered, their only chance is to split up and run. Gripping Haru's shoulder, our boy reassures her that the creature hasn't noticed them yet. Someone whispers a question, but before they get an answer, Pan hurls a can, and the metallic clang echoes. The monster reacts instantly, proving it's drawn by sound. He calms the group, signals for silence, and explains that fighting recklessly will only attract more of them. They need to end the threat in a single blow. His mind flashes back to the basement. Someone had handed him a weapon there, admitting he'd never go above ground himself, but wanted to help. The weapon had been designed specifically for Pyron's fighting style, crafted to pierce the monsters. Weak points. Our protagonist grips it now and charges forward, driving the weapon deep into the creature's core. As he looks down at the weapon, his dad's voice echoes, "Don't rely on weapons. Surviving up here means fighting with your bare hands." His father had always insisted humans shouldn't use tools in battle, promising it would make sense someday. Pin doubts that how could anyone face monsters like this barehanded. He realizes his dad never once mentioned monsters in the bunker. Maybe because he thought his son wouldn't believe him. Pyron admits he never believed in the apocalypse until now. Memories return. Endless drills in the bunker training for monster attacks. If his father never wanted him to leave, why prepare him so rigorously? Maybe he hadn't intended to trap him forever. He recalls one truth. His dad never lied except about mom's death. Could all that training have been for a day like this? His thoughts rewind to when it all began. The apocalypse's first day. He remembers the locks undone, his dad opening every door. If he hadn't escaped then, the monsters would have ripped him apart. Now he wonders why had the monsters targeted their bunker, and how had his dad known what was coming. Nearby, the bespectacled survivor kneels by the fallen monster, which curls into a ball after being struck in its core. He mutters that they couldn't break it, then tosses it to a girl who flings it aside. Pan watches as it arcs through the air and lands near him. He picks it up, noticing strange shifting patterns across its surface. The sphere hums in his hand. Glasses guy asks what's happening, but our boy doesn't reply. He squeezes and cracks spread. Fragments breaking away. His eyes flick to Haru, awake now, thinking of the time she ran off alone. She silently promises herself never to do that again, that she'll apologize to that kid when she gets the chance. Pyron remembers his dad before the world soured when he handed him a book from home, calling it the story of a hero. The boy's eyes open again, and Haru leans over him. Haru tumbles over Pyron and clamps a hand over his mouth. He tries to speak, but she won't let him. Looking up at her, our boy grumbles that she's heavy and tells her to get off. Haru snaps back that she isn't, while he mutters for her to calm down and calls her a scaredy cat. She scans the city with binoculars, spotting monsters in the distance. Checking a map, Haru focuses, but Pon walks over and asks how it's going, casually calling her human, which irritates her. Later, when someone asks his name, Pon admits he hasn't had one since he was a child. G insists he needs one, and Eugene wants to pick one right away, but he just stands there uncertain, mumbling about getting a name. He looks unsure until Haru offers one. He declines, then thinks of his dad, lowers his head, and softly says, "Paran." The others react with surprise. Haru repeats the name, and he nods. She asks what it means and our protagonist explains it's from a book he read as a child. Eugene suggests everyone introduce themselves. G goes first, then Eugene, then Haru, who jokes Pan won't remember anyway. He hesitates, tries to say his new name, and then steadier this time introduces himself as Pan. The group echoes his name and he repeats it again as memories swell. He sees the underground bunker and recalls dreaming of reaching the surface, meeting people, telling them his name. He always wanted to know others' names to talk with them. In that moment, Haru, Jian, and Eugene smile at him. Jian offers a hand, asking to be friends. Pian pulls back. Blood, screams, and the apocalypse flash in his head. He withdraws, stating coldly they aren't friends. Eugene and Haru are shocked. He thinks if the world hadn't ended, maybe he could have been there. Friend. But now his only goal is finding his mother. He turns to leave when a scream cuts through the air. Pan and G spot a man below, trapped by a monster. Our boy prepares to move, but Eugene insists they help. Haru and Jian share a glance while Pyron refuses, warning that any noise will draw more. Eugene argues they can save him and still escape. Pian reminds her of their agreement. She promised to follow his orders above ground. He repeats his warning, but when the man screams again, Eugene ignores him, grabs a weapon, and drives it into the beast. She stabs it again, shoving it off. The man thanks her, and Eugene tells him to stick with the group if he wants to live. Still trembling, he warns them as another monster appears. Pin leaps in and cuts it down quickly. He turns to Eugene, eyes hard, asking if she understands the risk. Her recklessness could have endangered them all. Haru and Jian stand by, tense, knowing things are only going to get harder from here. The injured man asks if he can walk, then admits his leg is too damaged. He'll need help. Pin had expected problems like this. Then the sharp crackle of monsters nearby stiffens everyone. More are closing in. Our boy refuses to offer any more aid. G reminds them that saving the man earlier was already too much of a risk. Pon turns to Eugene, telling her she can help if she wants, but it'll mean leaving the group behind. If she goes, she's out. Giant backs him up, repeating the rule. Everyone must follow every order, no exceptions. The man begs, but Jian agrees with Pyron. They can't afford it. She thinks about the others still waiting at base. Reluctantly, Eugene decides to stay. The injured man yells after them, accusing them of being murderers, abandoned to die. Pyron snaps at him to be quiet, but his cries echo through the dark. Monsters screech back. The group bolts as they're surrounded. Haru cries out that the monsters have cut off their escape. Pyron sizes up the situation. It's not hopeless yet. They haven't been spotted. If they move fast and retrace their steps, they can slip away. Then the injured man flicks a lighter, flames sparking in his hand. Everyone freezes. He gestures at a smoking sign, but Jian barks, that isn't the point. Fire will draw even more. The man shrugs, muttering, he already knows. Fire had destroyed his home. G presses him, but the lighter flares, smoke curling upward. Shadows stretch as monsters creep closer. The man mutters it's his time, that he just wants one last smoke. Creatures drop down, screeching. Pyron yells for everyone to run, charging forward, voice sharp as he shouts again for them to move. The man stays behind. PN dashes ahead. G right behind him. Haru looks back just in time to see a beast lunge for the man. She cries out horrified. Pan slides in, blade flashing, and slashes the monster before it can strike. His weapon tears through flesh as he lands. He plants his feet, weapon braced, as the beast stomps closer. Behind him, the others stand frozen. Pin snarls at them, reminding them he told them to run. G protests. He promised he'd escape, too. So why is he still here? Our boy wonders the same, but grips his weapon tighter. Jian warns that if Pan stays, the monsters might chase them and wipe out everyone. Eugene lashes out, stabbing another creature. Haru watches as Jian and Eugene struggle. More beasts closing in. Pin roars again for them to get out. Jian insists they can win. There are fewer now, and if they fight together, they can make it back. But then the air splits. A massive twisted red monster lumbers in, fiery cores blazing, grotesque limbs writhing. Parent squares up as the air shudders around it. G freezes when the other monsters bow low to their new master. Our protagonist shouts at him to run, but Jian stands paralyzed. In a single motion, the monster seizes him and rips his heart free. His body collapses, blood soaking through his vest. Jian lies sprawled in a spreading pool of blood. Haru collapses to her knees, screaming his name. Eugene panics, crying out while Pin grips his weapon, forcing himself into motion. He lunges at the hulking beast, but the weapon snaps on impact. With a brutal swipe, the monster hurls our boy across the ground, ribs cracking. Gasping, Pyron forces himself upright just in time to see the creature crush G's heart in its hand before discarding the body. As it mutates, swelling larger and more grotesque, it advances. He shouts at Haru to run, yelling for everyone to move, but she shakes her head, refusing. Running now would just mean losing someone else she loves. She won't back down. The beast seizes Eugene and Haru grips her weapon. Trembling but resolute. Eugene blames herself for everything, begging the others to escape. Convinced she's only endangered them. She charges forward in desperation, drawing the monsters onto her. Her voice echoes, pleading with them to survive. But she's quickly engulfed, torn apart before their eyes. Pin stares horrified as the massive glowing monster continues its rampage, stabbing down survivors while he and Haru brace themselves. He implores her to run, but Haru demands to know how he can say that. What about him? Pin keeps stepping forward, refusing to stop. She presses him, asking why he's trying to sacrifice himself, reminding him he was the one who wanted them to escape together. His voice is low as he admits that running would have been the logical choice. When she pushes further, he quietly thanks her. As he advances, his thoughts drift, sharing meals, learning names, finally standing on the surface. Everything he'd once dreamed of. He says that once someone dies, that's it. No more talking, no more calling each other's names. He begs Haru to run, insisting he can't stand watching any more friends die. Haru shakes her head in disbelief, whispering over and over that this can't be happening again. Dark shapes creep closer. Pin urges her to leave, his voice sharp. She shouts back, demanding why, but he insists she has to run. Haru cries that he sounds just like her father. The same words he said back then. Tears stream as she remembers the promise she made. Never to run, never to abandon others. She screams that she won't save herself at the cost of everyone else again. Her father's face flickers in her mind, his voice gentle. It's okay to be afraid. Guilt twists inside her. She left him anyway. Pyron asks if she truly won't run to save herself. Then he smirks, saying he should have known. You're just too kind. Haru realizes she was wrong. She admits her mistakes. Admits her dad did love her after all. In memory, he holds out his hand, asking her to promise not to cry, even if she feels like a coward. She shouts her promise, their pinkies linking. Left alone, our boy turns her words over in his head. Death ends everything, and he can't bear the thought of losing anyone else. Then Haru rushes back, yelling that he's a bonehead. No one said she was going to die. She declares she's going to survive, and if they live, nothing ends. Pyron stares at her, listening as she finds petrol, but stops to speak. She says that if they make it through, they'll be able to talk, call each other's names, and stay together. He listens in silence. She tells him they can still be friends. With that, she flicks a lighter, flame sparking to life. Pin shouts her name, demanding to know what she's doing. But Haru steadies the flame, telling him not to lose hope and reminding him they have to survive. She drops the lighter, petrol ignites in a sudden blaze. She reflects on how she always used to run only to save herself. Now she's running to protect the people she loves. She promises to protect them all and calls back to Pan that she'll see him at base. Monsters swarm, but Haru tears through the streets, sprinting faster, dodging strikes and vaulting debris as claws slash inches behind her. A hulking mutant lunges, but still she runs. Meanwhile, our protagonist steadies himself, eyes locked forward. Surrounded, he faces the monsters Heaton, calling them out and demanding their next move. Pan freezes as the monsters close in, and one stomps toward him, growling and demanding to know where he thinks he's going. Our protagonist calmly tells it that he's the one it should be worried about. He locks his gaze on the monster's weak points, sensing the life force within. Reaching for his weapon, the boy is caught off guard as the creature moves faster, knocking the blade away and sending him sliding backward. He realizes he can't reach the weak spot without it. At that moment, his father's voice echoes in his mind, reminding him that weapons aren't always an option. Pin recalls a memory of his father saying that one day he'd understand. When he used to ask what that meant, the older man would simply say that weapons weren't meant for people like them. He remembers watching his dad fight, never once relying on steel. Now, our boy shifts into his father's fighting stance. The voice explains that the stance is only the beginning. Every living thing has life force, and so do they. He remembers training in the basement where his father taught him to harness that power, explaining that hands channel life force, and with focus, you can pull it out through your fingertips. Blue sparks flare as energy surges through him. His father's words urge him to take that power. Pin protests that nothing is happening, but the voice assures him he'll get it. Once he can truly sense that life force, he'll be able to control it. Suddenly, our protagonist feels a burst of energy within. His father's words echoing, "This power is his." Energy lights up his arm, and he yells in surprise at what's happening. He recalls asking his dad what would happen if he channeled all of it. As the monster draws nearer, the voice explains that once he masters it, Pan will move almost as fast as his father did. With newfound strength, he launches himself forward. Our protagonist charges in and slams into the monster. It swings at him, but he breaks through its guard, sending the creature skidding across the ground. The beast clutches its face, and Pan reacts instantly to every movement. Electricity pulses through him, and he realizes he can actually keep up now. As it lunges forward, our boy braces himself. They launch at each other and collide midair. He grabs one of its tendrils, yanks it hard, and slams the beast down. The monster lashes out, but he dodges, leaps up, and delivers a punch so powerful it cracks the ground and sends lightning flashing. He checks to see if it's over. But the creature's arms begin to split and grow, its body morphing. Pyron realizes it's protecting its weak spot, locking it away, and knows he needs to push harder. Sparks fly from his fist as he digs deep. Memories of his lost friends fueling his determination. Lightning surges through every vein as he lights up, lifting his head and daring the creature to attack. The monster screeches and charges, slamming its arms and tendrils at him. He advances, undaunted, even as it towers over him, preparing to strike. The thought hits. If he'd been this strong before, perhaps none of his friends would have died. Gathering all his strength, he unleashes a devastating punch, an explosion of light and force, then collapses, exhausted. Somehow, he manages to stand just as the monster comes back for more. Suddenly, he spots a glowing core fragment still inside the beast as it snatches up one of the wounded survivors. He shouts for it to stop, struggling to tear away the tendril as it leers down at the helpless people. The creature grabs him by the throat, and as his gaze falls on a friend's lifeless body nearby, his mind goes numb. In that moment, only one thing is clear. He wants to end this monster. Pin's eyes glow red as he seizes its limb, preparing for what comes next. Pyron grabs the monster's limb, yanking hard and locking it in place. The creature snarls and thrashes, jaws splitting wide to reveal far too many teeth, but his grip only tightens. Its entire body whips back and forth until there's a sharp bone-cracking sound as our protagonist gives a fierce twist. The beast stumbles and he keeps pulling until the limb breaks apart in his hands. He steadies himself, red energy swirling around him, eyes glowing as his aura erupts outward, swallowing the monster's scream. Without hesitation, Pan charges into the chaos, his form blurring as he rushes the creature. It shrieks, teeth rattling. Meanwhile, survivors creep through the area with a map, checking their surroundings. One thinks they're close. Another grumbles about how long this has taken. The guy with glasses panics after spotting movement and the group rushes over to find Pyron collapsed on the ground. Shocked but relieved to find him alive. They pick him up. Chickencomb asks what happened while another stares at the wreckage. As they carry our boy back, Chickencomb gets bossy with the girl at the rear, telling her to leave some bags behind. She refuses, wanting half the rations and bragging about the feast ahead. He offers to help, then throws away her heavy bag, making her scream. Sprinting ahead, he dares the others to catch up. And someone swears to shave off his mohawk. The guy with glasses urges everyone to keep quiet unless they want trouble. Pin starts to wake, confused, noticing a map in his hand. He studies it, wondering if Haru is still alive. The one with glasses presses him to explain what happened, but our protagonist only remembers grabbing the monster at the last second. Everything after that is a blur. He has no idea how he survived. Suddenly, the ground trembles as another monster appears, roaring. Chickencomb charges in, ready to fight, and Pyron steps up as well. The glasses wearer panics about not having a weapon, but Pyron's hand is already sparking with energy. The beast lunges. He dodges and slams it so hard that the ground shakes. The survivors are stunned as he grabs the monster's limb, lightning crackling through him and shatters the glowing core to pieces. When the dust settles, Chickencomb grabs him, peppering him with questions. At the shelter, a few older men work with radios, frustrated by the lack of response. Bum tells them to wait, hoping something might come from the government. They're worried because the supply team hasn't returned yet. Haru sits in silence, sleepless, waiting for Pyron. When Bam spots movement outside, everyone starts whispering as the supply group finally returns. Haru's eyes widen when she sees him being carried in. A survivor reassures her as Pyron stumbles to his feet, and she rushes forward, hugging him in relief. She admits she ran away, but he still survived, and she breaks down in tears as the others watch. The supply run brought back 7 days' worth of food and some medicine, but the cost was high. They lost 2 people. When Pyron wakes, Haru greets him. He says he dreamed that someone hugged him, but she brushes it off as just a dream. He notices her wounded legs, but she jokes that he looks even worse. He replies that he heals quickly, and she calls him a monster before. Quickly apologizing. Haru says they're opposites. She's always run while he's always fought. She admits she's always hidden her cowardice, but now she accepts it. She's a coward, but she's choosing to fight and wants to change. A little girl appears. Haru is shocked and apologizes for leaving her before, wishing she'd spoken up sooner. The girl holds out a hairpin, and when Haru asks about it, surprised it's hers, the child insists it's a gift, saying her bangs are in her eyes. Haru hesitates, but the girl reassures her she has another pin. Touching her scar, Haru thinks of it as proof she kept fighting, all while Pyron watches. She clips the pin in and asks if she looks pretty. The little girl agrees she does. Despite all the loss and frustration, hope remains. Pyron sits quietly, holding a small trinket. Suddenly, a buzzing noise draws everyone's attention to the radio. He turns as a voice comes through the static, testing the mic. The group realizes the radio is working. The broadcaster explains they saw the apocalypse coming and prepared. Now it's up to the listeners whether to believe. Our boy listens closely, tense as the voice finishes, leaving the next move up to them. List comes on the radio and introduces himself, his voice calm but commanding. He tells listeners that surviving without any preparation is already impressive. Then he explains his plan. The only way to handle the monsters is to stick together, which means sharing locations is essential. He instructs everyone to use flashes of light instead of fire. Flashlights only, and to flick their beams for 10 seconds at midnight. When the hour arrives, beams suddenly cut through the dark. Across the city, scattered flashlights shine. Haru spots distant signals, her breath catching as she realizes they're not alone. The group begins speculating whether List truly anticipated the apocalypse, pointing out that it would take serious military-grade gear to broadcast like this. Our boy can't help but reflect. Only his dad ever foresaw such a disaster. A thought nags at him. Could List also know something about his mom? He recalls the man's words about his spot being marked by the brightest light and quietly wishes everyone good luck. As Pan prepares to head out, Chickencomb hurries over, asking to tag along. The protagonist tries to brush him off, warning about the dangers, but the other refuses, insisting he's not as weak as he seems. He argues that everyone who died before chose to be there and tells Pyron to stop carrying all the guilt. Everyone knew the risks. He finishes by saying they're teammates now and demands to be called Big Bro. Pyron relents, not stopping him. When he jokingly calls him Chickencomb, the self-styled tough guy complains. It's a mohawk, not a chickencomb, and wants the nickname dropped. Their bickering continues until Haru steps in, announcing she's coming, too. PN allows it without much fuss. Elsewhere, someone on watch duty notices he left without a weapon. The guy with glasses reflects on just how tough Pan is. He's beaten grown men and felled monsters thought unbeatable. Watching his near superhuman movements, the observer wonders who this young man truly is. Later, Chickencomb asks if doing what Pyron does will make him stronger. Our protagonist takes a moment before explaining the first step, learning to sense life force. Confused, the other presses for clarity, and Pan likens it to the body's natural energy. He admits he hadn't believed in it either until he felt it for himself. Suddenly, he freezes, halting the group. Haru tenses, asking if it's a monster and if they should run, but Pan shakes his head. A woman stumbles into view. He realizes the presence he sensed wasn't a monster, but a human. The stranger begs for help, her voice breaking as she says her family is trapped under rubble after fleeing monsters. She promises she'll do anything if they save her loved ones. Chickencomb asks again if the woman really means anything, and she nods. Haru insists they have to help her, but Pan questions if they're truly the only ones who can. She confirms it, saying that's why she came to them. Our protagonist senses there are more people nearby and she admits she was hoping to lure them to her base and ambush them, but claims it doesn't matter since there are plenty of others to deal with. Chickencomb complains that he can't get more favors from her. He was hoping for 10 in return. The woman suddenly demands everything they have, even their clothes. Haru refuses, but she threatens her, saying to hand over everything unless she wants to die. Thugs step forward, demanding their stuff. Chickencomb starts to undress, dropping his jacket as he hands it over. One of the goons bends down to grab it, mocking him for being so scared. Suddenly, the loudmouth knocks him out, puts his vest back on, and asks our boy how he looks. Pin prepares for a fight. The woman orders her crew to kill them quickly. One thug charges with a knife, but Pan catches the blade mid-swing and twists it back into him, dropping the attacker instantly. Chickencomb shouts, daring the rest to take him on. Their leader tells her people to target Haru, calling her the scaredy cat. The thugs rush her, but she dodges and escapes. The team manages to get away as a man watches from a window above. They enter a nearby house. Pyron suggests they stay put, but Haru points out that no one's there. He warns that the mess inside looks intentional, like a trap. Suddenly, the floor gives way beneath them, and Haru and Chickencomb crash into a heap of trash. A figure appears, remarking that he was wondering who the uninvited guests were. He recognizes them as the group from earlier and calls them idiots. Pin stares ahead as a knife flashes dangerously close to Haru's neck. Their captor holds it firmly in place, making it clear he'll go through with his threat if anyone tries anything. Our boy snaps, demanding answers. The man keeping Haru in a tight grip asks why they're there. Pin blurts out that they came because of the radio broadcast. His expression shifts. He realizes what Pan means and insists he heard the broadcast, too. Our protagonist then asks why he isn't heading to the location marked by the brightest light. The captor laughs, mocking the idea of anyone predicting the apocalypse. He brings the blade even closer to Haru, warning that one lie will cost her life. Suddenly, he lunges, but Pyron dodges and a brawl erupts. Pin ducks and counters, slamming him to the ground. They exchange blows with the captor swinging wild. The struggle intensifies and Pan charges again. The blade catches his side, but he pushes through the pain. He attacks repeatedly, though the captor manages to dodge every strike. The man remarks that Pin isn't like other thieves, but the boy only focuses on moving faster than his opponent can react. He rushes in, closing the distance and aiming for a takedown. Meanwhile, monsters begin gathering outside, raising the stakes. It turns into a tense standoff. The captor keeps his grip firm, and Pyron knows any loud noise will draw the creatures in, but subtle movements won't be enough to get close. Both ready themselves as he debates gathering the energy like before. Finally, PN leaps forward, committing to it. The captor stops as Pan crouches, channeling his energy and swinging it. The force rushing past the man's face. Our boy lifts a finger, signaling everyone to stay quiet. The captor freezes. Suddenly, a rope snaps and he starts to complain, but the others glare at him. He sits down, clearly nervous, as if sensing they might retaliate. Haru and Chickencomb exchange a glance and grin. When he asks what's so funny, they tie him up tighter and spin him around. He protests loudly, but Haru laughs and calls for another spin. The man demands to know what they want. Pin explains they're just heading to the broadcast and gathering supplies. He doesn't believe it, but our protagonist assures him they'll let him go later. They're not taking any chances after what happened before. When the captor asks how Pyron moved so fast, he dodges the question. Suddenly, a noise above draws everyone's attention. They look up to see a ripped art corpse lying nearby close to a monster's remains. Chickencomb and Haru freeze, but the man calmly says it won't attack. It's his sister. He repeats himself, explaining she's barely hanging on, still alive. Haru asks how that's possible, and he describes her injuries, admitting those wounds should have been fatal. He believes the monster attached to her is keeping her alive by leeching off her life. Haru wonders if that really counts as being alive, thinking of her own brother as she watches the suffering woman. Chickencomb asks why he doesn't just pull the creature off. He replies that he's tried everything, but the roots go too deep. Chickencomb then asks if they can kill it, and the captor laughs at the idea of there being an easy core to break. He says he's tried everything, but these monsters don't have a weak spot like that. The conversation falls silent. The man tells everyone to leave, but Haru warns that if he tries anything, they'll just spin him again. Pin cuts him free and heads out, telling the others to follow. Their former prisoner watches from inside, muttering about the strangers passing through, claiming they know how to kill the monster attached to his sister, but he doesn't believe them. He asks his sister if she heard any of it, then notices a teddy bear nearby. He picks it up as a rope cacks and stretches. Meanwhile, our protagonist wonders if the situation is a trap. As he turns around, realization hits and he mutters, "It's them again." Across the room, a creature rises from beneath the floorboards. Pyron grips a knife tightly. A doll lying on the floor beside him as he faces a massive shadowy figure. His vision turns red. Sparks of energy flickering across his eyes. Suddenly, a horde of eerie creatures emerges ahead, multiplying the danger before him. He's frustrated. He already burned through too much energy earlier, and now the monster's grip is draining his strength even more. As that energy slips away, our boy's eyes fall on the doll, and he remembers the promise he made. He reminds himself to keep that promise no matter what. Memories flash through his mind. He walks alone, answering a call and promising he won't be late. In another place, his sister listens in, anxious, asking how many chances he has left. The captor's voice rings out, "None." He's always had this unusual talent. The vision shifts. Glimpses show Jingu with glowing eyes, scanning possible futures, able to predict outcomes to any event. During matches, he always takes the win, but never looks satisfied. When someone asks why Jin isn't celebrating, he admits he saw it all coming. On a phone call, he's reminded about their promise to watch a show together. He explains his ability, he simulates every scenario by simply observing. When a biker loses control and heads toward him, Jin steps aside, lands a hit, and the crash unfolds behind him. He admits that while his power lets him predict things, overusing it leaves him exhausted, and always ends in a headache. When asked about the crash, he brushes it off. His sister calls asking what he went out to buy, unaware that it's for her birthday. Holding the doll, his phone buzzes and an uneasy feeling sets in. People around him are looking up, so he follows their gaze and sees a massive dark sphere hanging in the sky. Shaken, Jin watches as a monstrous thing with twisted limbs descends. He suddenly realizes his predictive power is useless. He can't see any futures, only chaos and monsters everywhere. He notices the disaster unfolding nearby. Then his phone dies. The internet cuts out and the ground shakes as explosions erupt. Monsters swarm the streets as energy surges through him. Jin braces himself, clutching the doll, determined to survive as the world collapses around him. Jin wanders the ruined streets, trying to figure out what the monsters really want. Are they after human blood, or do they aim to wipe out all life? When a beast lunges at him, he dodges, counting the distance back to his shelter and thinking only of protecting his sister. He finally makes it home. Stepping inside and spotting a red line trailing across the floor. Following it deeper into the house, he pieces together the situation. Up ahead, he finds a mangled body. Gripping his knife, he quickly dispatches the threat. The next day, the mysterious planet in the sky is gone, but the monsters are still everywhere. Jin carefully seals every crack and opening in the house to keep them out. Inside, he finds his sister's body twitching, a parasite clinging to her. He has already tried and failed to pull it off, but he refuses to give up. One failed attempt isn't the end. There are more chances. He swears to save her, promising to rip the thing off no matter what. He studies the monster's healing process. Each one seems to regenerate differently and wonders if there's a limit, maybe tied to how much they eat. He's seen them do more than just eat. Maybe that's what really drives them. If he can force the parasite to keep healing, maybe it'll eventually wear itself down and die. He keeps trying to sabotage its regeneration, but the creature remains stubbornly attached. Jin knows he needs a better plan. He considers ways to disrupt the healing. Maybe by hitting it repeatedly until it can't keep up. Later, he uses a telescope to watch monsters outside, noticing they're always drawn to fire, even through barriers, but that's too risky to try. He experiments with hydrochloric acid. It slows the healing, but doesn't kill the parasite. He dissects a few captured ones, searching for any weak spot. Acid, liquid nitrogen, nails, none of it works. Frustrated, he tells his sister he's out of ideas and unable to kill the parasite. He begs her to give him a sign if she's still in there. Suddenly, a rope goes taut. Looking down, he finds Chickencomb and Haru hanging upside down. Back in the present, Jin struggles against the monster's grip. Feeling like this is the end, and there are no more possibilities ahead. Suddenly, Pan appears and crashes into the beast. Sparks of electricity shoot from our protagonist's hand as he prepares to strike. Pian slams the monster to the ground. Jin's eyes lock onto the core in front of him, vision going red as power surges through his body until it bursts out, leaving him trembling and breathless. Confused, he demands to know what's happening. Our boy looks back at him, silent, while Jin tries to figure out how he managed it. The others mention they only returned because someone forgot a bag. Pin repeats his advice. You have to hit the core, though he warns most people probably can't see it. Jin insists he can, recalling the glow he once saw coming from his sister. Pin confirms that's the core. Jin asks why the glow appeared in his sister and not the monster itself. He says if setting her free means killing her, then he'll do it. Our protagonist explains that as long as her heart keeps beating, the parasite will remain. Jin looks at his sister, determined to end her suffering himself. He picks up a toy rabbit, wishing her a happy, belated birthday. Standing over her with knife in hand, he sees black tendrils wrapped around the core on her chest. She lies still, the stuffed toy beside her as he hesitates with the blade. Memories flash. Her smile meals together. Her writing on his shoulders, his grip tightens. He thanks her, saying it over and over, eyes on her body. To his surprise, she responds faintly, telling him she always heard him. Jin admits he's lost, unsure what to do now. Pyron appears with Haru and Chickencomb as Jin comes downstairs, remembering his sister's final words, telling him to do what he wants. He hesitates, glancing between the group and his sister. Suddenly, another monster arrives. Jin recalls her face, his eyes turning red with resolve. He remembers clasping her hand, swearing vengeance on every monster that took her away. In her last moments, she told him to survive and get revenge. Chickencomb charges in but gets thrown aside. Jin rushes forward, tendrils sprouting from his arm and tearing through the monster. He then turns to Pin, introduces himself as Jin-gu, and asks to join the group. The lone survivor sits, tense as footsteps approach. He spots a group coming down the escalator, Pan, Haru, and Chickencomb. The girl with glasses immediately asks if they brought anyone else. Jin-gu introduces himself simply as Jin. Haru lists their finds, food, medicine, and a more detailed map of the area, stopping only when a cliff blocked their way. Jin is surprised this spot hasn't been raided by other groups. The survivors wonder aloud if anyone else is even out there. He informs them there are 3 groups in the area, and one of them hunts other survivors. Haru realizes that this is the same group they encountered before. Jin says they'll have to cross that territory to get around the cliff. Chickencomb mentions that the woman from that crew still owes him a favor. They debate taking a different route, but Jin argues it would be risky and take too long. He insists he's got it under control and warns the group not to reveal our protagonist's bunker training to anyone. The others bristle, questioning who put him in charge, but he claims he's the smartest one here. Later, Pan is training, weighed down with heavy gear, his eyes sharp and focused. Jin asks about his strength, and our boy explains he trained in the bunker his whole life. Jin presses for details about his routines and what he used to eat. Pan, uncomfortable, asks him to stop, but the questioning doesn't let up. Finally, the young fighter says he hides out here and asks how Jin even found him. Jin replies that he followed a light and that now he can see the life force in people, including Pyron. This reminds our protagonist of something his dad used to say. Jin wants to know how the man knew about life force and why he built a bunker in the city to train his son. He calls Pan's dad a lunatic. Memories stir. His father wasn't always like that. At first, the man supported Pyron's dream of seeing the surface, but eventually became obsessed with prepping for the apocalypse, which led the boy to rebel. Jin suggests maybe the father already knew about the monsters or the apocalypse in advance. Pin admits it's possible. Jin asks if he's certain his dad is dead. Pan recalls watching him fall from a great height with monsters diving after him. Jin points out that doesn't necessarily mean the man is gone and that Pan may never know for sure. Pan sits on the floor as Jin suggests that his father might still be out there. Our boy replies that if his dad were alive, he'd already be here looking after him. Jin agrees, then shifts the conversation, asking how he moved so quickly during their last fight. Pin demonstrates the move, confirming if that's what Jin meant. He explains that you have to focus your life force into your fingertips, but the real challenge is being able to feel it in the first place. Jin says he can feel it. His hands start shaking as he remembers the sensation of having all his energy drained. He insists that feeling is real and shouts that this must be his life force. Blood starts to drip from his nose and sparks flicker. Pin asks if he's alright, but Jin insists he's fine and demands the strength to defeat monsters. Electricity spreads across his skin as he admits he wants to be just like our protagonist. Suddenly, Jin stumbles and collapses with Pyron calling his name as he falls. Jin wakes up in bed overhearing Bomb talking to Chicken Cone, who's lying in the patient's bed nearby. Jin learns he's been unconscious for 3 hours and notices his power still isn't working. Later at the station, he meets with a craftsman who hands over the weapon Jin requested, a blunt wedge. The craftsman warns that the weapon is useless against monsters and more dangerous to people, but Jin takes it anyway. He's cautioned not to use the thin blade on monsters as it could snap. Jin assures him he has another weapon for that. Pyron appears and asks if Jin is coming, and he confirms he is. The boy then asks why Jin is helping him, and Jin replies that he wants to understand what's happening with the monsters. He then asks why Pyron is so determined to find his mother, even though he's never met her. Our protagonist simply says it's because she's his mom. Haru and Chicken Comb show up, calling for the others to join them. Pyron asks if they're ready, and Jin says they're still one short. The girl with glasses is chosen to join. Bam and another survivor wish the group well as everyone heads up the escalator. Pan says he's living to find the people he cares about, while the rest have their own reasons. As the crew sets out together, Pin moves forward while Chicken Comb and Jin hang back. A screech echoes in the distance, and shadowy figures appear. Suddenly, a harsh voice calls out, accusing them. Not just of losing people, but of abandoning someone to die, which is even worse. The woman who once tried to trap our protagonist and his team tries to explain, but before she can, a knife flashes through the air. The blonde woman comments that these new intruders aren't like the others who usually get caught. She remembers a kid who dodged and a big guy with a chicken comb haircut. Another voice agrees. The silver-haired fighter simply stabs a man, calling him livestock. People whisper about whether the intruders might come back. The leader declares the hideout is locked down, grabs a piece of flesh and says if the intruders return, she'll just eat them herself. Jin lays out the plan. They need to cross the thieves' territory, which is divided into 3 zones without being caught. He insists that everyone must sneak through. No fighting. Chicken Comb is excited by the challenge, but Pan doubts they can all make it through undetected. He says he could probably do it alone, but isn't sure about the whole group. Jin grins confidently, assuring them that if they follow his instructions, everything will go smoothly. Our boy notes that he could always sense life while in the bunker, but Jin only developed that sense after getting captured. Chicken Comb points out they're short-handed. The girl with glasses arrives and Jin suddenly grabs her bag, catching her off guard. He warns everyone that they're now at the edge of the thieves' territory. Showing the map, he explains the hand signals. A pointed finger means go. Avoid enemies at all costs. A clenched fist means attack. A retreat signal means run if things get dangerous. And touching his chin is his signal for lying. Pin questions the odd signal, asking when they'd ever use it, but Jin says it's just in case and probably won't matter, urging everyone to keep moving. Chicken Comb backs him up. They carefully creep through the ruins with Jin leading them to cover whenever he spots thieves nearby. The thieves, meanwhile, are distracted, whispering about finding a hidden box. Jin tries to signal the group, but Chicken Comb misreads it and charges at the thieves, knocking one out with a punch and fighting another. One thief yells threats and gets ready to fight, but our protagonist grabs and restrains him. The girl with glasses explains that Jin's signal meant to sneak past, and she scolds them for blowing their cover, even though they won. Chicken Comb admits he misunderstood the signal. Jin says it's alright since there aren't more thieves around, but now they have to decide what to do with the ones they caught. Haru asks if Jin is really going to kill them, and he prepares to do so. Pin intervenes, blocking him and arguing that there's no reason to kill. Jin challenges him, saying thieves wouldn't hesitate to kill them, so it's safer this way. But the boy stands firm. He says he doesn't want to kill anyone. And every time someone is about to die, he feels terrible. Jin questions whether Pan is really willing to risk everything over his feelings, warning that if they get caught, he'll never find his mom. Pin stays silent, then insists they leave before the thieves wake up. Haru agrees, saying there's no need for killing. Jin tells everyone to move on. They go deeper into the territory, and more people begin to appear. Suddenly, someone demands to know who they are, pointing out they've never seen them before. A guard spots the group and immediately questions them for being strangers. Jingu warns everyone that they're way too deep in enemy territory and should get out. The guard shouts, demanding to know what they're doing crouched there. Chicken Comb blurts out that they're crouching because it's a top-secret mission. When the guard asks who he thinks he is, the loudmouth tells him to recognize the Mohawk. The guard pretends he remembers and Chicken Comb drags him away while the others watch. Jin tells the group that if they get separated, they'll meet back at the base. Pin checks with Haru about how far in they are and she says they've just made it to the middle of Zone 1. They enter a building where our boy notices the windows are barred. Inside, a prisoner behind bars begs them to let him out, insisting he isn't with the bad guys. Soon, more captives appear, terrified and convinced they're about to be eaten. Jin asks if they mean eaten by monsters, but the prisoner warns them about a sinister woman called the Predator. Pyron mutters the name, considering rescuing everyone, but notes there are guards everywhere. Jin says they can't waste time helping, but Haru reminds him of his promise. He admits he lied to keep everyone calm. The bespectacled survivor says saving people is too risky and Jin looks to Pyron for a decision. The protagonist agrees it's too dangerous. Jin points out that Pawn refused to kill the thieves earlier. He replies that it's not the same. He just has a thing against killing. Swatting a mosquito, Pawn pops it in his mouth and eats it. Haru yells at him, but he shrugs it off as just an old habit. She calls it gross, but he insists it's not about hunger. He quickly covers her mouth to keep her quiet. Jin gives a hand signal pointing ahead and the bespectacled survivor and Haru prepare to retreat. Outside, the predator and her squad stop. She sniffs the air, commenting that something nearby smells delicious. The group hides below them. Another soldier reports that the livestock farm in Zone B3 was destroyed by monsters and all the animals escaped. The predator, baring her fangs in a grin, demands more details and tells the soldier to bring her the eyes. The bespectacled survivor sees guards rushing off and worries that something big just happened. Meanwhile, prisoners are dragged in blindfolded. The predator pulls down one captive's blindfold, taunts him, and demands to know the monster's weak points. The prisoner points out the glowing spots, one at the base of the tail, another on the leg. She leans in for more detail, and when he guesses the wrong depth, she threatens to eat his other arm. Jin notes that many guards left after the chaos, so now's their chance to move. As they sneak through, Haru bumps into an escaped prisoner who explains that a monster smashed the cells and everyone ran. Jin figures that's why the guards are gone and doubts the escapees will survive since they don't know how to kill monsters. The man mocks the idea of killing monsters, but is suddenly stabbed. He collapses, his head sliced off and flung across the ground. The predator catches the head, turns to the group, and asks who they are. The predator approaches, clutching the monster core, and demands to know what's going on with the fleeing livestock. She presses further, accusing the group of ignoring her orders. She had been clear. Capture or kill. The girl with glasses and another survivor freeze, unable to respond. Jin glances at a nearby corpse, mocking their hesitation with a smug grin. He claims they only pretended to be allies to gather information on the runaways, then sigh about not getting more out of the dead man and pinches the bespectacled survivor as they're cornered. The predator warns them not to act suspicious and orders everyone to track down the rest of the escapees. She steps closer to Jin, eyeing him curiously, and comments on how she's never seen someone with his face before, how memorable he looks. He stays silent as she circles him. Then she challenges him to make her remember him next time. The girl with glasses and the others catch on as the woman recognizes Jin. She lashes out, but he blocks her attack and yanks Eugene out of danger as blades slice through the air. Pin leaps in, grabbing the predator's weapon mid-swing. While the bespectacled survivor panics, the woman grins, her suspicion now confirmed. The scent she picked up earlier was indeed from them. She accuses Jin of being the source she's been sensing, her grin sharpening as she sizes him up. Wondering aloud why she should bother chasing livestock when the group in front of her seems much tastier. She lunges at him, demanding a bite. Jin throws his blade to block, but she ducks low, slides past, and tries to escape, only to find him already blocking her path. Our protagonist points forward, earning mockery from the predator as she hurls her blades, daring him to take them. Steel rains down, but he focuses. And just as she thinks she has him, Pawn snatches the blades midair. The bespectacled survivor stares in shock as our boy takes control, grabbing, spinning, and redirecting each weapon in a blur, throwing the woman off balance. She falters, stunned, as he bites through a blade with his teeth and seizes more knives. He hurls them back in rapid succession, forcing her to scramble to block the onslaught. When Pyron grabs her by the hand, she clamps down on his arm, laughing and calling him her favorite, his scent the most appealing. Haru mutters that something smells odd, like something burning. A flame flickers in the woman's hand before she throws it, but the fire fizzles out. Jin sneers, telling her it's too late now. The predator shouts at everyone to fight for their lives as heavy footsteps echo from behind. Out of the shadows, monsters surge forward. Pin and the spectacled survivor steel themselves, ready for the oncoming attack. Everyone's either prey or predator. Another hunter creeps nearby. A lion feeds, and the endless cycle of eat or be eaten continues. Humans were once at the top, but that doesn't last. Suddenly, monsters appear, far more intense than anything before. The old food chain is shattered because these creatures now rule. The predators glare at whoever's left. Our team lifts their heads, catching the attention of the main predator. She notices something different in their eyes and challenges them, daring them to prove they've got the will to survive. She yells for them to show that fire inside. At her command, the monsters charge. Pin and Jin stand their ground. They rush in too. Their weapons ignite with energy and a powerful burst slams into the monsters. Instantly recognizing the weak points, they take out the creatures on the spot. The noise draws Predator's crew who come rushing in. Suddenly, Haru is yanked into the open, a knife pressed to her throat. Pin and Jin freeze. Their captor demands they surrender and reveal how they've survived this long. The blade digs in deeper and the girl with glasses drops to their knees, begging for mercy. Jin whispers to our protagonist to attack now, but he says he can't strike from where he is. Predator jerks Haru around mocking them. Parn steps forward, hand glowing, but she warns him not to try anything. She'll kill Haru regardless. Jin urges our boy not to surrender and to attack before she can react, but Predator begins a countdown, threatening to kill Haru. Parn hesitates, afraid he'll make a mistake, while the others look to him. Jin's words echo in his mind. Small sacrifices can't matter. The mission is too important. Predator counts down 3. She continues, 2. Pan's fist tightens. Haru braces herself on 1. He unexpectedly surrenders. Predator shouts for her crew to seize them. Chains snap around Pan and Jin as they're dragged away and the gang locks them up. The gate slams shut, sealing them inside a dark cell. Now our protagonist sits tied up in the shadows. He hears footsteps approaching. The Predator enters, telling him to stay alive. Pyron is confused, but she says she didn't expect him to understand. She's just the messenger. He demands to know where his friends are. When he asks about them, she coldly says she's already killed them. PN sits in his cell across from the Predator, admitting that he killed those people. She tells him to say it again, laughing, and then asks if he plans to kill her, too. The woman grins, continually prodding him, pointing out that his reaction proves those people were his friends. She brings up how he hesitated earlier because of that girl. Our protagonist figures he had a 50/50th chance. He's gotten lucky before, but back then, a mistake meant someone died. He reflects on how he used to be weak, and though he's stronger now, doubt creeps in. Maybe all this strength has just made him reckless and dangerous to those around him. He remembers father's words about not getting close to people and the lesson finally clicks. Impressed by his abilities, Predator starts questioning him about his powers. She tries to figure out how he knows all the monster's weak spots and even suspects he might be one of them. Pyron just stares back as she wonders aloud if he's really like the others. She demands to know how he can see weak points. He blurts out a question asking if someone told her about that, too. He wonders if she got the information from someone else. Maybe whoever's spreading it is connected to his father. She responds by kicking him in the face, demanding answers again. Pyron glares back, snapping out a defiant response. But she isn't fazed and claims she's got all the time in the world. She then questions him about where he's from, pointing out how clean his clothes are compared to everyone else's and notes how healthy his group looks. She demands to know where their base is. Our boy lunges at her, baring his teeth, but Predator slams him down and teases him about being hungry, saying she's not about to be lunch. Pan swears he'll never talk. She laughs, calling him livestock. As she keeps hitting him, Predator questions whether he's even human. She turns to one of her men for an opinion. The man says he can see this inner light in people, just like in monsters, and sees it in her, too. Looking at Pyron, he says his light is especially bright and radiant. Predator mutters that it must be life force and declares that he smells delicious. He's definitely the most interesting one here. Another man interrupts, warning that food supplies are low, tensions are rising, casualties are increasing, and people are demanding executions. He urges her to find the group's base, but Predator shrugs it off. Instead, she grabs Pan again, pressing for answers. When he refuses to talk, she proposes a game. Stuck in her grip, he glares back. She slashes him, watching how quickly he heals and taunts him to keep going, laughing about how long she can drag this out. He endures the repeated beatings and cuts, healing each time, only to be hurt again. While our protagonist lies battered on the floor, footsteps approach. A man whispers for him to keep quiet. Pan recognizes him. The stranger says he's also a prisoner, used to be livestock, and that his body was altered so he can now see lights. Karen asks if he means life force, but the man seems uncertain and just shrugs, offering to help him escape. As he starts to leave, Pan quickly asks if he's seen Haru or any new prisoners. The man says no and that nobody likes it when people ask about that. Just then, Predator and her men return and catch Pan's contact. She ignores the man's protests about being an eye, saying they can always make new experiments. Predator mocks Pan, asking if he enjoyed their little game, but he says this torture is nothing compared to his time in the bunker. She reminds him about his friends and then they throw Haru into the cell. Predator says she didn't reveal anything during interrogation, even after being deprived of water. She grabs Haru and threatens her, then sees his parent's hand and breaks his fingers. Haru screams for her to stop, but Predator just keeps going, snapping more bones while he stays silent. Predator threatens to keep breaking his fingers unless Haru gives up the location of their base. Another finger snaps. Both Pyron and Haru are screaming, and he tells her not to say anything. A couple of guards whisper about how cruel the captain is, especially with the torture happening inside. Predator mocks Pyron's healing hands while our boy silently fumes that he can't use his life force. He wonders how she managed to bind him so tightly and grows frustrated that she doesn't really understand his powers. She keeps pressing for answers, but he refuses to give anything up. When Predator demands the location of their base, he hesitates, but ultimately stays loyal to his group. She grabs a pair of pliers, threatening to see if his fingernails will heal if she rips them off. Haru is terrified. When Predator finally calls it a day, our protagonist is left alone, haunted by father's voice, warning that caring for others only leads to pain and weakness. Outside, Haru watches, guilt twisting inside her as she sees what Pyron endures. He realizes all of this began the moment he learned what it means to care for other people. Her horror grows when Predator strolls back in, threatening to go after his toenails next. Suddenly, Haru yells that she'll take his place. Predator is surprised, teasing her about her feelings for the boy, but Haru keeps quiet, pretending to be bored. Predator shifts her focus, grabbing Haru and getting her tools ready, while Pawn remains restrained. Haru apologizes, and just as Predator is about to start, he shouts that he'll cooperate. Predator is pleased until Jin arrives. She asks where he's been and Jin replies that he's ready to give up the base's location. Water drips and Predator grins, but Haru doesn't believe he'd really betray them. Jin ignores her and tells Parn to listen. He claims he doesn't need our protagonist anymore, saying he thought Parn was the key to understanding monsters, but now considers him a disappointment who wasted his potential. Jin declares he's betraying the group and walks away. Outside, Predator asks why Jin switched sides, and he claims it just makes sense. Another survivor mocks Pan's group for being weak. The girl with glasses admits she never even knew where the map was. She just followed everyone else. Jin suggests attacking quickly since the base is heavily guarded, recommending a swift assault. Predator likes his attitude. They move the prisoners outside and one of Predator's men asks, "Why bring Haru and Pan?" She smirks, saying it'll be fun. She wants to see their faces when the base falls. As they march, Haru tries to reach him, apologizing, but he stays silent. When she begs, Pyron finally gives her a strange look. Jin checks if things are on track. Predator confirms everyone is present except the livestock guards. As they head up a cliff path, Jin grins, saying everything is perfect. Some survivors are confused about stopping there, but he explains they're surrounded by the city with no cover and only one way out. If monsters show up, escape will be near impossible. An underling grows nervous and draws his weapon, but Predator demands answers. Jin signals retreat or escape if needed. Escaping is more important than fighting. He gives the final signal. Pan recalls that touching the chin means Jin is lying. Realizing he only pretended to betray them to keep the ruse alive. While Haru reacts and our boy clenches his fists, he reveals a hidden key tucked beneath his tongue. She catches on instantly. Jin continues to act normal under Predator's watchful eye, subtly holding up two fingers, the signal to attack if necessary. As Predator is distracted, Haru unlocks Pyron's cuffs. He stands free at last. Energy surging through him. One soldier warns Predator that the boy is loose. With a fierce twist, PN breaks the shackles completely and prepares to fight. Predator's men hesitate, but one steps forward, overconfident. Even as she warns not to underestimate him, PN steps up. Haru close behind. He stomps, cracking the ground, then delivers a punch that flattens a soldier's face and sends him flying with a blast of force. Pan knocks his opponent out with a single punch, sending the man skidding across the ground. The crowd erupts in shouts. Meanwhile, Jin signals up to someone on a ledge who hits a detonator. An explosion rocks the canyon. Flames erupt, turning the entire battlefield into a fiery trap. Amid the chaos, people struggle to regain their bearings. Suddenly, monsters begin charging out of the blaze, roaring. The Predator orders a retreat, but panic sets in. Every exit is blocked by walls of fire. She shouts for someone to bring her the eye and commands her group to kill anyone in their way. Haru tenses as the huntress looks her way and grins. But then something shifts. A light awakens inside her. Her eyes begin to glow as power surges through her. She dodges the Predator's attacks with incredible speed, surprising both herself and her enemy. Using her fear as fuel, Haru launches a counterattack, moving so quickly the woman can barely keep up. Their eyes meet and Haru calls out Pon's name. The Predator turns as our boy approaches, but someone with a blade suddenly intercepts. Pin blocks the strike, shifting the focus. As he gets closer, the enemy leader tries to react, but Haru grabs him and urges him to leave. The monsters are closing in fast. She insists they need to get out and he agrees. The Predator stands her ground as the flames creep closer, but our protagonist kicks her away. He and Haru exchange a look, but behind them, their foe rises again as her people shout for her. Monsters begin attacking the survivors. The Predator tells everyone to run and calls for the eye as her crew scrambles. Amid the chaos, Jin calls out Pan's name. He responds, then punches Jin. Pyron accuses him of revealing their secret about life forces. Jin admits it, explaining that's why he told the others to bind his fingers. When Pyron asks why, thinking back to the torture, Jin insists it was the best move for him. He realizes Jin meant it, and the other boy confirms he never liked Pyron, blaming him for being indecisive and saying he doesn't deserve his powers. Parn asks why Jin didn't dodge if he hates him so much. He could have avoided that punch. Jin says nothing. Finally, Jin admits he needs Pan. The young fighter is silent for a moment, then says Jin annoys him. Jin retorts that the feeling is mutual. Pan offers his hand, telling him to get up unless he wants to die here. Jin finally takes it, making it clear he has his own agenda, even with monsters and chaos all around. Survivors grab their weapons as orders are shouted to hold the line. The Predator demands to know where the eye is. Her crew responds that they've got him, and a soldier says someone volunteered. She praises the volunteer, promising rewards as a young man steps forward. Chicken Comb watches as the boy pulls down his sleeve and says he can finally see again. Back then, Chicken Comb was taken to a place where a monster was kept all tied up while a man watched with him. The man explained that the experiment almost never worked. Most people died if they couldn't handle monsters. He asked if Chicken Comb was really sure about this, noting that usually only livestock were subjected to it, but the Mohawk fighter was determined. He wanted to keep up with Pyron and Jin and didn't want to fall behind. Afterward, I realizes he can now see the monster's weak points. The Predator yells at him to point them out. He turns defiantly and asks if they really think he's going to help. He refuses, mocking her. One of the enemies recognizes him as the same guy who attacked them earlier. Nearby, another teammate panics, begging the Predator for forgiveness after mistaking Chicken Comb for an ally. She laments that they don't have any eyes left. A monster approaches and the leader steps up. Surrounded by creatures, she declares she'll be there right now, knowing that if she fails, she's dead. Elsewhere, PN faces Haru. She reminds our boy that he always wanted to make the best choice and questions whether this plan is really what he wanted. Jin explains that since Panin surrendered before, luring their enemies out of the base was their only shot at wiping them out. Haru argues the plan is reckless and could get everyone killed. Jin insists he's seen a future where they all make it out. He's picturing everyone escaping together. Suddenly, a monster appears in front of him and he readies his blade. Haru is chased by another and a survivor is taken down. The team witnesses the chaos as a massive creature bursts up, its body exploding outward. Everyone prepares for the fight. Jingu grips his weapon. Haru determined says they can do this. Puns. Fist crackles with electricity as he declares he's ready. He charges in attacking the monsters. One of them roars as Jin takes on another. Pin dodges and counterattacks while his friend uses predictive abilities to evade and target the monster's cores. Knowing he must destroy them. Then one monster reveals a swirling center. Jin is hit with a sense of déjà vu just as the core glows red and fires a beam directly at him. The beam pierces through his body. Jingu freezes as the monster's fiery swing nearly slices through him, but Haru bolts forward, tackling him out of the way just as the laser crashes into the ground. Dazed, he stumbles, surprised to still be alive. She grabs his arm, saying she thought he was in trouble. Together, they slide back, narrowly dodging the monster's follow-up attack. As the beast bears down on them, Jin grips his weapon, realizing this creature has power like Pyron's, the kind that can alter fate. He braces himself, clutching his sword, knowing he'll never have that same strength, but determined to find some way to defeat it. Meanwhile, our protagonist is hammering the beast with punches, dodging its regenerating limbs, and relentlessly attacking its core. He knows if he runs out of strength, he might collapse, so he needs to end this quickly. The monster's arms lash everywhere, but he manages to avoid being caught, breaking bone and tearing flesh. Energy surges through his fists as he smashes through to the glowing core. Jin stands ready with his blade, waiting for his opening. When the heart is exposed, he charges in, weaving through flailing limbs, and drives his blade deep. It cracks but doesn't shatter. The core pulses harder, blue sparks jumping through his hand. Pyron appears beside him, shoving with raw force and channeling energy into it. As the creature convulses, our boy pushes harder, slamming the monster backward as its core flickers and tendrils. Haru rushes in, ducking under limbs, but a wild swing forces her back. She and Pan cross paths as survivors scream for help. More monsters closing in. Elsewhere, the woman who had tried to trap them before grabs a collapsing survivor, pulling him up. Chicken Comb appears, reminding her she still owes him a favor. She snaps at him, annoyed, but he refuses to let it go. Realizing she's cornered, she finally agrees and asks for his help to escape as chaos erupts around them on the battlefield. Meanwhile, the Predator observes streams of life energy flowing across the fight. Finally understanding Pyron's power, energy crackles in her eyes as she mutters into a phone about how long she's waited for this moment. Now that she can see the flow, she's desperate to know how to use it. After the clash, Pyron checks on everyone, but Haru tells him people are more worried about him. He looks like he's running on empty. He insists he's fine and can keep fighting, so he pushes on while Jin watches, thinking that Pan could have taken on all the monsters alone, remembering his promise to wipe them out. Jin feels he's slowing the group down. He glances at our protagonist, wondering who the real failure is. Haru panics, shouting about where they're supposed to go, as fire rages all around. But Jin stays calm. He has a plan. He's mapped out a route through the canyon, and when she asks how, he reveals he made a deal with the livestock prisoners. PN recalls someone mentioning a rescue mission and realizes Jin is at the heart of it. Our protagonist hears Jin say this was the best option he could manage. With that, the group sprints across burning ground, leaping into the canyon. Chicken Comb and the woman appear, and he greets them. Haru is immediately suspicious about why the newcomer is with them now. Chicken Comb asks everyone to pause and the woman pleads to join. Jin warns her not to mess things up or she's out. The girl with glasses joins too, so the squad moves together. Pin and Jin slide down the canyon. Monsters in pursuit. One drops in front of them and Jin shouts for everyone to keep running. Fighting here would only get them trapped. He tells the others to go ahead while he faces off with the beast. More creatures drop down and our boy charges in, blasting through them as the rest of the group keeps moving. He and Jin push ahead, encouraging everyone to keep up. As they run, Pyron reflects on his life force power. It makes him stronger but burns out quickly, working best in short bursts. He charges up before punching, taking down another monster. He realizes that holding the charge longer increases his strength but drains his energy faster. Before he could barely last 2 minutes. Now he's improving by adjusting the output. He demands to know the way to the base and Jin tells him with the girl with glasses confirming she knows too. Suddenly the ground cracks and the canyon shakes. The terrain collapses sending everyone tumbling down. Jin realizes that a single misstep could have killed them all. Haru injures her leg and struggles to stand. Pyron checks on her, asking if she can walk. She says she'll try. Meanwhile, one survivor tries to escape, but falls, despite Jin's warning to be careful. Chicken Comb and the woman panic, thinking they're doomed without our protagonist, but Chicken Comb promises to protect her, urging her to stick with him. Suddenly, a monster's claw tears into her side. Jin calls for Chicken Comb as another creature attacks. Chicken Comb blocks with his weapon, but is knocked down as more monsters close in. Haru's leg gives out, so Pyron lifts her and runs, launching them both across the canyon. As monsters close in, he shields her as they land, steadying himself as more beasts appear. He blasts another monster and surrounded by noise and chaos keeps running with her in his arms. Meanwhile, Jin fights off monsters, blades swinging. Chicken Comb defeats one creature, but realizes the woman didn't make it, though she was a comrade, if only briefly. He calls Jin a comrade, too, urging him not to fight alone. Together, they prepare for the next wave as monsters continue to attack. Monsters pour into the canyon, dropping down as Pin stands firm, blocking their attacks before stomping forward. One beast charges, but our boy smashes through, throwing punch after punch until he knocks a core loose. He starts to feel the strain. One monster slashes his side. Another clocks him in the face. Haru shouts for him to escape and save himself, but he refuses to leave. The protagonist steps up, declaring there's no way he's losing her now. Haru feels a surge of guilt. Convinced his pain is her fault. Haunted by memories of what he's endured. Pan is hurting but keeps fighting, thinking about how meeting her changed him. While she's convinced everything that's happening is because of her, she cries out, blaming herself for his suffering and torture. He steps in front of her and admits that maybe if they'd never met, none of this would have happened. But he doesn't regret any of it. He thinks of everyone he's met, Eugene, Chicken Comb, Haru, and BOM, and realizes that because of them, he's learned to trust. He trusts people now. Suddenly, a monster grabs him. Flames appear and Haru screams, asking why he goes so far to protect her. Gritting his teeth, Pan shouts that it's because he cares about her, leaving her in shock. His father's voice echoes in his mind, challenging him and repeating his words, saying trust leads to pain and betrayal. Pin listens, but he refuses to back down. He insists that he believes in kindness, warmth, and all the good he's seen. He's not following the old path anymore. Monsters start closing in. Power surges through him as Haru watches. Lightning arcs across the battlefield, blasting through monsters. Pin pulls her close, swearing he won't let her die. He holds her tight as monsters swarm, unleashing a wave of energy that tears through the attackers. Haru gasps as our protagonist pushes himself beyond his limits, clearing the area of monsters. Exhausted, he stumbles forward and collapses as his body gives out. She runs to him, calling his name. Another monster closes in, and PN struggles to get up, admitting he's out of energy before falling again. The creature looming over them. A memory floods his mind. Little Pan hearing his father's voice warning that his heart would bring pain and telling him never to go to the surface. His dad said that his heart would always pull him toward others and get him hurt so he could never be allowed outside again. But he also said that if Pyron ever decided to chase his dreams, he'd have to grow stronger. Stronger even than his dad. Back in the present, the monster draws closer. Haru watches anxiously as his father's voice echoes. He must become strong enough to face any storm and go after what he wants. Summoning all his strength, our boy forces himself up. Lightning gathering around his hand as his dad's words ring out. Sky's the limit. Power erupts as he slams the ground, sending energy everywhere. Pyron grabs the monster's power, his father's words echoing about the strength in their blood. The blue flame. He rips the core free as the enemy repeats. This is the power of the blue flame. The monster's core flickers as Jin stands nearby watching. Chickencomb explains that he can now spot weak points thanks to the experiment they went through. He calls it the life force, insisting it exists inside them, too. As the creatures close in, Jin keeps his distance while the Mohawk fighter charges in. He notices that Chickencomb is attacking wildly instead of targeting vital spots. Realizing this reckless approach will only get him hurt. The brawler yells for Jin to stay back. He wants to handle the monster himself, leaving his comrade frustrated and worried. Chickencomb gets hit and goes down, but he stubbornly rises again and dares the beast to try once more. Meanwhile, Pyron is caught in tendrils, lost in memories of his childhood and his father's warnings. He recalls his dad repeatedly stressing the dangers of life on the surface and the risks of getting close to people. Our boy wonders why his father never trusted other humans. While he struggles to move, Haru calls out to him. Her voice is drowned out by the echo of his dad's words. The bunker is safe and following the rules is the only way to survive. Pan remembers pretending to be asleep, overhearing his father confess that the real danger isn't the apocalypse, it's other humans. He feels torn, wanting to know more about those secrets, but also resenting them. His dad insisted that if the world ever discovered Pyron's true nature, every human would come after him because he's different. The memories blur, and a thirst grows as our protagonist's life force weakens. He clutches his chest and reaches for an orb. The moment his hand touches it, power erupts from him. A shadowy monster bursts forth and spreads. Haru calls out as he clings to the figure. Pan's eyes snap open. He's back. She tries to reach him, but an enemy attack comes dangerously close. Bracing for impact, he's suddenly shielded by a glowing force. Steadying himself, he sees the girl with glasses appear, relief on her face that he's safe. Jin admits they can't fight the way Pan can and insists they need to escape, calling for Chickencomb to move. The Mohawk fighter charges ahead, determined to hold the monsters back. He tells Jin to run, explaining it's because they're teammates. Jin hesitates, but Chickencomb's resolve is clear, and together they make a break for it. Jin hears Chickencomb's words and can't quite grasp it. Is he really willing to throw his life away for something so simple? He grips his sword tightly. Suddenly, a monster's arm swings at the Mohawk fighter. Jin shouts a warning and dashes in, his blades clashing against the attack. He blocks hit after hit, running survival scenarios in his mind. He realizes that if he bailed now, just like Chickencomb suggested, he could still escape before the monsters close in. Yet, he thinks about how Pyron never follows the expected path and always finds his own way. He admits to himself that he's always just been an observer. Memories of losing his family to monsters flood in, and how he only gave up when every option was exhausted. Steadying his grip, he swings hard and lands a solid hit on the enemy, telling himself that if he had our protagonist kind of power, this fight would be easy. He shouts that he could have shaped his own fate. Chickencomb calls his name as monsters close in. Jin admits he's powerless, nothing like Pyron. He resigns himself, thinking maybe this is the only way he knows how to survive. As the beasts surround him, but then he stops, questioning why he's even living like this. His sister's face flashes in his mind and her words echo in his memory. He remembers the promise he made to her to get revenge and wipe out every last monster. Surrounded, Jin tightens his grip on his blade. He charges at the creatures, deciding in that moment that lacking power isn't an excuse. He must get stronger no matter what and take them down. He realizes he doesn't have to follow our boy's path. He can forge his own way to live and fight. Facing the monster, he recalls Pon's advice about channeling power from his fingertips and tries to harness his own strength. He stomps forward, feeling something different ignite within him. Determination turns into strength, and he lets it flow, swearing to destroy every monster. He thrusts his hand forward, energy exploding toward the enemy. Exhausted but focused, he draws willpower from his old promise and the memory of his sister. He imagines Pyron beside him, both their powers blazing, and steadies his hand. Sparks shoot from his palm as he blasts the creature's chest. The monster explodes, torn in half by the attack. Jin clenches his sword and braces for more. He stomps ahead, slashing through monsters as they swarm from every side. Each hit lands true until all the beasts are left in piles on the ground. The girl with glasses stumbles forward, dragging Pyron along. As they move, he spots movement. Chickencomb and Jin are still alive. They walk over and she asks what happened. Chicken Comb says they barely made it out thanks to Jin, but falls silent when she asks about the missing woman. Haru suggests they get out of there, but the bespectacled girl warns that someone is waiting up ahead. Before she can say more, footsteps interrupt. The predator steps right into their path. They demand to know why she's there. Predator advances, hurling accusations and calling them traitors, warning what happens to those who betray her and mentioning the woman who died. The girl with glasses snaps back with an insult, but Predator calls her slow. She tries to stand her ground, claiming their side has the advantage, but a sudden flash cuts her off. Chicken Comb is attacked and stabbed in the arm. He shouts at Predator to never mention the woman again, insisting she was a comrade. Predator shrugs off the sentiment, declaring that being comrades means nothing. There's only predator and prey. She moves closer, stating that survival is the only thing that matters. Chicken Comb refuses to back down and faces her. Predator's weapon starts to spark, and she says it's dinner time. She lunges at him, electricity crackling around her, slashing across his chest, and claiming she's mastered life force. Electricity flickers as she holds a phone. When someone asks how she learned it, Predator says she picked it up from some kid with a strange fighting style. She finds two bodies on the ground, confused about where everyone else went, then realizes they've all run far away. She remarks that she can just follow the trail of blue energy to find them. Suddenly, a voice crackles through her phone, telling her to stop after hearing her mention blue energy. Predator gets annoyed, glancing at the bodies scattered around. Haru tries to warn her to stay back, but she scoffs, daring Haru to do something about it. Predator attacks, but Haru dodges and sprints away. Electricity snaps from her hand as she gives chase, calling Haru a pain. She grabs her by the hair, taunting about how much power is draining from her body and promises Haru will never walk again. Our boy slashes at Predator, forcing her to let go, and she is surprised to see him ready to fight. Tossing Haru aside, she prepares to face him. Pan charges, but Predator dodges, sparks flying from her hand as she readies another attack. She goes all out, raining down blows and yelling for him to give her a good fight, saying she's finally found someone who can keep up. Then she offers a twisted deal. Even if he loses, she won't kill the others, just __ them so they can't run, promising to eat their flesh and use them for experiments. The protagonist stands back up, vowing to avenge everyone. Haru watches as he raises his hand. Predator demands he go all out, but then notices blue flames flickering at his fingertips. He focuses, forming a hand sign as blue energy sparks. Predator prepares for the fight. Suddenly, she leaps in, slashing at Pyron's hand and calling him boring. Pyron lies on the ground, covered in blood and missing an arm. Haru screams his name in terror. The Predator stands over him, weapon in hand, mocking him for losing the fierce determination he showed earlier. She sneers that he once wanted to live, but now looks empty, his energy gone. Haru clenches her fists and charges, catching her off guard for a moment. She swings, but misses, and the hunter taunts her, calling her a rookie and a coward. Haru hits the ground, but refuses to back down, glaring defiantly as her enemy tells her to keep struggling. Suddenly, Chicken Comb stumbles, distracted by movement behind him. He looks back and sees our boy beginning to move, staring straight ahead. A buzzing sound grows louder as an insect lands on his head. Dazed, he watches the bug crawl toward his severed arm. His fingers twitch. The buzzing intensifies and the limb begins to stir. The insect hovers over to the Predator, buzzing around her head. A memory flashes. Pan tries to swat away a bug while his father asks what he's doing. He insists he won't do it again, but his father presses for the reason. The boy explains the bug was in his line of sight. Back in the present, the Predator announces she's done playing and warns Haru she'll end up like our protagonist. She freezes in shock as he starts to rise, confused by his movement. Suddenly, bright red energy bursts out and Pyron's severed arm regrows, monstrous and clawed. The buzzing grows louder as his new arm lashes out. Haru watches as the hunter gets knocked down, his body now crackling with red energy. He remembers telling his father that buzzing always felt like a signal, compelling him to catch and eat it. Pin screams as the transformation continues. Now towering over Jin. He's gone full monster, his body covered in red growths, his face twisted and unrecognizable. A huge creature charges, roaring and slamming the ground. Pyron meets it head-on. They smash into each other and the beast transforms into an orb. He bites down on the orb, absorbing its power. Jin sees this and shouts his name, accusing him of being one of the monsters, then fires an energy blast. Pan blocks it, his monstrous claws crashing into the attack. He advances, driving a claw straight through Jin's chest, then tosses him aside. Chicken Comb yells in shock, but our protagonist lunges at him, slashing viciously. Finally, he turns to Haru, grabbing her with that monstrous arm. He looms over her, and she struggles to break free from his grasp. Pin bites down on Haru's shoulder, squeezing her as hard as he can. She smacks him on the side of the head, causing him to freeze mid-bite. Haru shouts his name, trying to snap him out of it, but our boy only growls and begins choking her. She fights back, landing a punch across his face. The blow jolts him. He realizes what he's done. The sparks of his monstrous transformation begin to fade. Pyron stands staring at Haru, who lies limp and bloody. He calls her name, glancing at the others scattered on the ground. The girl with glasses screams at him to stay back, calling him a monster. He looks around at the destruction, wondering if he caused all of it. The survivors watch in shock. A man hiding nearby blames another for not warning anyone, and panic escalates as Bomb approaches. Parn spots him and freezes, recognizing who he is. As Bomb comes closer, our protagonist yells, warning the scientist to stay away and blaming him for the chaos. Bom ignores him and moves past. Another survivor arrives, looks Pyron over and asks if he's a monster, but most people keep their distance. Then, a hooded man appears while someone questions if he plans to get close as well. The hooded man merely smirks. Bam and another person begin helping the wounded. Elsewhere, a man describes meeting Jin at a looter base and making a deal. He would save Jin if Jin helped free his friends who were being kept as livestock. When asked, the man confirms he came from the same place Pyron and his group were trying to reach. Chickencomb insists he's fine, though Bam flinches, suggesting he take a break if needed. Someone asks if the man came from the place associated with the radio broadcast. He says yes and wonders if Jin hasn't already explained things. The survivors inquire about both the location and the broadcast, but the man says it's complicated and promises it will make sense soon. He recalls being caught by looters while searching for survivors, then asks Baum about his friend's condition. Bom replies that they're alive but malnourished. Attention shifts back to Pyron as the man reveals he transformed into a monster and attacked his allies. Others confirm this, mentioning his rapid healing and how his arm regenerated, which surprised everyone. The man expresses relief that at least he managed to kill the predator, while Jin suspects Pan was unaware of his monstrous side. The man then says he saw red energy coming from Jin's body, which seems suspicious. Jin explains it's his life force. When the man asks what that means, Jin questions how he could not know considering he's now expected to fight monsters. The man admits that fighting wasn't part of their plan. They wanted to avoid attention. A woman says List was the voice on the radio and the man continues explaining that List supposedly knows about a weapon capable of instantly killing monsters. He recalls how everything used to sound unbelievable, but witnessing the battlefield changed his perspective. Jin asks what he means, but the man avoids answering, saying they'll find out in time. When it's mentioned that he accepted the idea of life force so quickly, he responds that nothing makes sense anymore. They live in a world where a mysterious planet hangs in the sky and monsters attack every 6 days. Jin wonders if the assaults will ever end. The group discusses how the invasion began without warning, and the man asks about Pan's whereabouts. Jin says he's nearby, but keeping his distance. Our protagonist isolates himself, afraid of hurting someone again. The others feel safer with him gone, though the man says he wouldn't have joined if he'd known. Jin explains they haven't known Pyron for long. Later, he tells the girl with glasses to keep Pyron's belongings hidden. When she asks why, Jin says the newcomers might not be trustworthy. The group agrees to keep his secret. The man, Min, expresses hope that they can survive together. He soon notices someone missing. Just as the hooded man from earlier steps forward, a survivor explains that he helped move the injured. The hooded man approaches Pyron and someone asks who he is. When the stranger reveals his face, Pan stares in shock. The man remarks that the hooded figure is the strangest among them, noting he hasn't said a single word. Jin tries to sense the life energy of those around him, but feels nothing from the hooded man, which unsettles him. Pin asks what the man wants. The hooded figure then pulls back his hood, revealing golden eyes and red hair. Our boy asks who he is, but the stranger only stares in silence. The red-haired figure begins speaking in a language PN doesn't recognize. He keeps asking what's being said, but receives no response. After a moment, the stranger falls quiet, steps back, and pulls his hood up again. 2 others arrive, saying they've been searching for the hooded man. One of them is about to speak, but Pan cuts in, asking about Chickencomb, Jin, and Haru. Bam tells him that Chickencomb and Jin are awake, but Haru is still unconscious. They assure our protagonist she isn't dead. Overcome with guilt, Pan blames himself for what happened. He recalls trying to attack and eat Haru, admitting this to everyone. He realizes it wasn't guilt or anger that drove him to violence, but rather the disturbing truth that he enjoyed it. One of the survivors reassures him, saying he believes Pyron isn't the kind of person he thinks he is. Bum agrees, adding that even when Pyron is angry, he's strong enough to resist it. They point out that his kindness and willingness to put others first show he's not a monster. Another survivor mentions they've encountered real people before, but Jin disagrees, comparing Pan to the monsters above ground. Jin approaches repeatedly calling him a monster and challenging him to prove otherwise. He insists he saw Pan nearly attack someone else and says he's no better than the deranged woman outside. He accuses him of being a monster inside and out. Bum questions Jin's harsh words. Jin admits that although he thinks Pyron is a monster, they still need him. He explains that Pon's strength and knowledge could help them understand the creatures, but that doesn't mean he trusts him. Instead, Jin says he only trusts what Pyron might do next. Chickencomb teases Jin, then suggests they check out the source of the radio broadcast. Jin asks what he means. Chickencomb explains it's the place run by a man who prepared for the apocalypse. Jin says they're ready to go, while Parn hopes meeting this man might reveal more about his mother. However, he's haunted by the memory of hurting his friends and promises not to let it happen again. He resolves to control himself and vows never to lose control like that again. Suddenly, a dark voice echoes in his mind and Pon screams as red monstrous tendrils burst from him. The tendrils thrash violently as Chickencomb and the others try to restrain him. Jin charges his electricity, but Chickencomb stops him. Despite the tendrils' grip and our boy's struggle, Chickencomb refuses to let go, holding him down until the energy finally fades. He tells Pyron that things have changed. Bom and the rest remind him that he's not alone. Pen resists, mumbling no. As the tendrils move, but he insists he won't hurt his friends again. He grabs the tendrils, tears himself free, and declares that he doesn't know what the thing inside him is, but it's no longer in control. He promises it will never win. The monster's voice tries to pull him back into darkness, but Pyron fights to break free. A flash of light erupts and he returns to his friends, his eyes glowing red. Bom and the others watch, noticing the last trace of that power within him. Then Haru approaches. She slaps him and tells him to get it together. Calling his name, she helps him break free from the monster's grasp. Pin sees her and the darkness inside him finally disappears. Supplies are well stocked. Chickencomb and another helper confirm they have nearly a month's worth. The girl with glasses remains tense, frequently checking on Haru. Bom says she's still shaken by witnessing our protagonist's monster side and worries about what will happen if Haru never wakes up, but the woman assures him that everyone is grateful Haru is still with them. Someone asks when they'll return to base, and another realizes it's been over a month since they left. He wants to head back, but Hai says they're almost ready. He introduces Gino, who did a great job dealing with the looters, and says everyone is set to leave. Jin greets the group and offers to take them back to base. Hai checks on him, but Jin brushes off any concerns. Determined to get back to training, Hai warns him about the risks of tampering with his life force, but Jin insists he's focused on getting stronger and promises not to repeat past mistakes. Weasa is uneasy about Jin's intensity. The woman who sews mentions that the shirt she made for Pin is now in tatters. The weapon maker notes that at least the shirt made it back, then says he lost a weapon outside, but weapons can be replaced. People cannot. The woman teases him and he snaps back, reminding her that he's doing his part to keep things running. Nearby, the girl with glasses notices a hooded person sitting quietly and asks if he wants to learn the language. The hooded figure nods, so she assumes he's not from around here, which explains his silence. She promises to teach him quickly. She asks what word he wants to learn, and the stranger signals for apocalypse. She pronounces it slowly, helps him repeat it, and he manages to say it. He keeps repeating the word. Meanwhile, our boy is training, quietly, repeating apocalypse to himself as he remembers how Haru's voice brought him back from the edge. He admits that without her, he might have lost control, and there's no guarantee it won't happen again. He knows he can't always rely on her. Every time he becomes unstable, the thing inside him tries to take over. Determined to control his life force, he recalls the last fight, how his power surged, and he felt himself get stronger. Now, though, he can't recapture that feeling no matter what he tries. He remembers Haru's touch and wonders if recreating that moment will help him succeed. Our protagonist decides he still has a chance. He pushes himself, running as fast as he can, repeating that he must protect his people and get stronger. He keeps going until he collapses, refusing to stop until he can harness that power again. Chickencomb and the others are preparing to leave. We notes they've reached a dead end and suggests it's time to head back. Suddenly, a can falls, making a noise that attracts monsters. A young man freezes in fear as the creatures attack. Jin leaps into action, his powers crackling as he smashes through the monsters. Everyone calls out to him, demanding to know what's happening, but Jingu stands firm, his eyes glowing with energy. One monster, a spiky ball, targets. He panics, thinking he's done for. Time freezes. The spikes stop inches from his face. Blue light flashes. Energy tears through the air, and Pyron appears, destroying the monster. He punches through the beast as he looks on in disbelief, energy crackling around them. The others question what happened, pointing out that his hands shredded the monster. Jin asks if he's gotten stronger. Pan, catching his breath, says he managed to replicate what he did before, but insists he still needs to improve. He knows it's the only way to protect those he cares about. Jin outlines their next steps. They need to find the source of the strange radio broadcast and meet the person claiming to be prepared for the apocalypse. Hoping for answers. Later, Pan sits by Haru, tells her to keep resting, and promises to get stronger. He continues training trying to master his life force. His veins bulge and his eyes change as he strains. Chickencomb, Jindu, and the others watch as his eye takes on a strange appearance. He regains control. Byam Huang calls out, asking him to wait, but Chickencomb checks if he's alright. Pyron's red eye stares ahead as a dark figure appears in his mind, but he insists he's fine. The group moves on through the ruins. Later, someone is walking around and finds a pair of broken glasses, surprised by how damaged they are. More people gather and one is called out for not working, trying to play it off when the leader notices the glasses. The leader is shocked and demands to know where they were found. The person says they were just lying on the ground, but another recognizes them by the chain and suddenly urges everyone to leave, insisting it's too dangerous. One thinks it's a lucky find and doesn't understand the urgency. The leader explains the glasses mean their owner is still alive. Another says they saw him earlier, remembers seeing fruit and signs of a struggle, and says they must warn the others. A figure steps out into the sunlight and everyone realizes it's the man they fear. The terrified one panics as the figure approaches. Parents' father appears and tells them to try reporting that he's alive. The frightened leader tries to joke, but the older man grabs the glasses. The terrified one stammers and then screams as the others freeze. One man draws a knife and demands to know who Pan's father is and if they were being followed. He ignores him, mocks the questions, and says it's their bad luck. He steps forward with his fist glowing blue and says that now they've seen him, they won't make it out. The group realizes only one person possesses that blue energy. Someone shouts that it's him and they try to prepare for a fight. Pan's father smirks and unleashes a burst of energy, blasting the group and announces that this is just his warm-up.